All right, good afternoon, folks. It's a bright and sunny day on the eastern seaboard, and we're having a second stream today. Hope everyone's doing well. Join with me today is Southpaw and Voice on the Radio. Thanks, guys, for joining in.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Smudboy.
Yeah, and we're
Hello.
doing a request from a few of us, not myself included, but a few of us on the Smudcast. It's more of a democratic process here. Someone makes a recommendation, other ones say, yes, let's go, other ones say no, and then we argue about it. So that's why we're having a second stream. We might even have a third stream. We're not sure. We had a whole bunch of recommendations, and this was one given to us by actual members. So I got to respect those. So we are covering Xander Hall again, even though we didn't have the greatest experience with him when he came live. That's fine. We can still respect his opinion. We can listen to what he has to say and see what the big hubbub is all about. Because as you know, The Last of Us Part 2 came out, was it yesterday? And
Yes.
lots of review scores are being tanked from the user side. And there's all this people saying it's great, people saying it's bad, da da da, all the usual stuff that happens with content that is difficult to describe, difficult to ascertain what the themes are, what the story's about, how it makes you think, how it makes you feel. That's the joy of art. It makes you think and feel different things. And everyone has their own lenses and biases in front of themselves. So that's how it goes. And this is a half hour of something about reactionary gamers seething. I don't know anyone who is actually characterized as a reactionary gamer, let alone those who are angry. I don't know. I see a bunch of people having fun and laughing about the game, but not angry. So where's the
I'm
where's the anger? Does
I'm
anyone
mainly
know?
just I'm mainly just disappointed.
Is it the
I thought with all the like ingredients I heard about the game, I was still like in my head depicting the best way things could go. But no, it was all the terrible things I heard displayed in the worst way possible.
right?
You hear the leaks and you go, oh, Luke Skywalker turns on the Jedi. Maybe that could work if it was done this way. But and the way you invent is better than the way you get.
Right. When you hear
Yeah.
these ideas of subversion or stuff like that, you think, oh, that's a really difficult thing to accomplish. You have to be skilled. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know how to break rules. You have to know pacing and timing. So it's like, oh, we're going to get a subversion of XYZ. For example, KOTOR, subversion of the Force and what it means to be a
Do
Star
you know
Wars
what
fan.
really? Do you know what really piss people off is if we got geeks and gamers to help us with this. He hates The Last of Us Part Two.
Oh, yes, he got banned from Twitter for I don't know how long,
Yeah.
but
Oh, wouldn't that be good though? Wouldn't that just be? Oh, that'd be a character arc.
just
He
go ahead.
returns.
Message Shiny and get him if you want to get Jeremy on board. Yeah,
I'll drop. I'll drop Shiny a message. And see if he can message Jeremy for me.
if he wants. I don't know if he
Regular.
has better time to do it on a weekend. It's a nice day outside and wherever he is in the world, but it's up to him. I wouldn't mind it. But again, this is half an hour. I don't think we're gonna get through it all, but we'll see what we can do.
Depends how smooth this goes.
Yeah. Okay. So first super chat of the night. Thank you, sir, from Fran Mataraki. Fran. So I apologize. That's a she. It wasn't very progressive of Neil to deny Abby the use of Vaseline and a good reach around. Well, when you're in a post-apocalyptic zombie adventure where you're there to survive, those toiletries are not available for everyone. So I think he was just being realistic in that depiction. I could be wrong. Okay, we all set, guys?
Yes,
believe so.
sir.
Let's do it.
I generally don't do this, where I write out a bunch of my points that I want to cover in a particular video on screen to be able to reference when I'm doing this whole live thing. Usually that's for pre-recorded, scripted content. But today, there's a topic that I really, really want to talk about, and I want to do it justice by covering every area that I want to talk about. And I don't feel like I can do that responsibly, just going right off my own head and sort of improvising it. So I do have a very loose script in the form of a list of points that I want to touch on in this video, and hopefully it works out. So At 8 a.m. today, the embargo for probably one of the most anticipated games of all time lifted. So I am now allowed to talk about spoilers without getting my channel yeeted. I previously covered a video from a guy who was mad about this whole The Last of Us 2 thing, and I had to take that video down despite the fact it did really good and people liked it, because it turns out Naughty Dog was getting people who talk about spoilers striked off of YouTube. So now that the embargo is over, I can talk about this without getting copyright striked by Naughty Dog. Excuse my throat, I just woke up. Now, The Last of Us 2 is the sequel to the game The Last of Us, which is probably looked back on as like one of the best games ever, at least narratively speaking. Its gameplay is but the characters and story and, you know, character development, all that shit, very good. Everyone fucking loves it. And people have been waiting for
Does anyone
The
else
Last
think
of Us 2
that The Last of Us is kind of put on a gold pedestal? At all?
What do you mean?
That it's maybe over-respected in a way.
Well,
It depends. I've always just sort of saw the game as like the story was the selling point, but so narratively it was really good, but gameplay-wise I just didn't think it was all that. And now it seems to have flipped somewhat.
well, so I felt like the gameplay when I recently played it, it's a bit clunky in regards to movement and especially like melee combat. Melee combat is a mixture of just mashing square and quick time events. So it's very, very, very bare bones. The shooting is kind of awkward because of the aim sway, which you can upgrade out of. And of course, there's the fact that ammo is scarce, and you have to be constantly like searching around environments to pick up ammo, and enemies will rarely drop ammo, and you got to make all your shots count and everything. Because it's not really supposed to be like it's a shooter, but it's not really supposed to be just running around and shooting people. It's supposed to encourage like, you know, being as stealthy as possible and being strategic with your resources. And that's the part of the gameplay that I personally enjoyed. What I preferred about The Last of Us is it wasn't the gameplay, it wasn't even the plot, which is rather derivative. It was the character development between the two main characters, which I thought was really well executed. The world building is also really good. The world feels lived in. The environments are very nicely designed and rendered. As you know, the design of the zombies is great. The gameplay, like involving sneaking around the clickers, is really fun. And I'm trying to think of like one last thing. The voice acting is consistently solid.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's like a lot of people will say it's kind of like it's more like a movie. It's like a video game trying to be a movie. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that particular criticism. But when people are saying it's like the Citizen Kane of gaming, like, sure, obviously that's overrating it a bit. But I still think it's a really good game.
I see the story as somewhat generic, but I love the sort of moment-to-moment writing in it, if that makes sense. So that the slow moments where it's just the two characters of Ellie and Joel interacting and doing simple things like Joel explaining what an ice cream truck is. I really enjoy those moments, but I wasn't in it for as you said, I wasn't in it for the story per se, because it's kind of the generic one person, you know, has the potential to save humanity kind of thing. It was more the characters that brought me along, especially Joel.
Yeah. Joel's character development is really solid. I felt like the opening with him losing his daughter was a bit cliched in terms of like, oh, it's another like male protagonist who is motivated by like losing a daughter or like some kind of female character in his life. But the execution of that scene was done well because of the voice acting, of course, and it set up his character development with Ellie very well. And it explained like why he was both kind of like closed off to like bonding with her, to like opening up with her and everything. And then the whole game is you're seeing him like slowly kind of like Ellie's kind of a growing on him a little bit, you know. So that aspect, it's like it's a cliched backstory, but it's a good execution of one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that.
I kind of saw it as a mundane experience similar to Bioshock, where Bioshock was still Troy Baker talking about whatever's going on. In this case, he's now a mundane guy surviving a zombie apocalypse. So it's more real. It's more grittier. It's more gritty. It's more. It's in the genre that people can say, "Oh yeah, I know what's going on." It's easier to digest. Whereas Bioshock was like underwater, capitalist, all these other themes and ideas. So, and it's third person, so you have a lot more facial animations, a lot more emotion going around. So, I can see why it's popular.
It's 2016 when it was announced, with a very hyped. Now, recently, as of a couple months ago, there has been a particularly large amount of drama going on about The Last of Us 2. But it goes back to even before that. I think it was back in like 2017, or maybe 2018, Naughty Dog released a trailer for The Last of Us 2 that featured Ellie kissing another girl. If you played The Last of Us 2, then you know that Ellie is a lesbian, or at least bi. Maybe she's bi, I'm not sure. But at least a lesbian. Pretty basic,
Right, can you pause this?
And naturally.
So I feel like I know where he's heading with this. He's going to talk about how there was like some people that reacted negatively to the kiss and whatnot being focused on in the trailer. So I just want to quickly point out that The Last of Us is a zombie apocalypse, like survival horror action adventure game. Okay, it's a mishmash of a few different genres. And you have a trailer for The Last of Us that opens with like they're in this barn where there's like a dance and everything. People are line dancing, I guess. They're not line dancing. But anyways, it's a folksy kind of setting. Doesn't really feel like they're in a post-apocalyptic setting here, but then again, they're in like a settlement that's safe. But it's focusing a lot on Ellie and her relationship with this girl, Dina. Now, the problem is we don't know who Dina is. Dina is a new character. Like, we're familiar with Ellie and Joel, and Joel is not showing up in this trailer at all, but they're focusing on introducing this new character, Dina, that Ellie appears to like. And the trailer spends an almost uncomfortable amount of time showing the two kissing. It's kind of weird, especially considering like the first game didn't have really any romantic elements in it except for the Left Behind DLC. Like the main game itself didn't have pretty much any romantic elements besides like an implication that there was something between Joel and this smuggler woman that he's working with in the beginning of the game named Tess. But it's kind of strange just seeing kind of a soapy teenage love melodrama. Like there's a love triangle in this trailer because there's like this Asian dude named Jesse that was Dina's ex-boyfriend, and that's established in the trailer. And then suddenly Jesse is dancing with Dina and kissing her while Jesse is like in the same building. So there's like they're teasing like a love triangle in a Last of Us game. And that's what personally kind of put me off. It wasn't the fact that Ellie was a lesbian, because I'd already played the Left Behind DLC. Now, maybe there were some people that didn't play the Left Behind DLC and didn't know that Ellie was a lesbian, and that is frankly on them. But even people like me who had no issue with Ellie being gay, and I played through the Left Behind DLC on my channel recently, and thought it was really solid. There was one person in chat that thought that the stuff with Ellie and her old girlfriend was forced. But I think that we ended up changing his mind. I was like, me and Evan, we were both in the call and like in the stream, And we agree that Left Behind DLC doesn't really feel like forced LGBT inclusion. It's like there's nothing wrong with having gay or transgender characters in a zombie apocalypse setting. It's when the focus suddenly becomes about their sexuality or their gender identity. That's like, well, I'm actually here for the zombies. I'm here for the survival horror. I'm not here for the, like, even if it was like a heterosexual relationship, like, unless the chemistry is just really good, I'm not gonna care about the soapy teenage love triangle. That's not why I'm here. So that is my stance on the whole, like, Ellie and Dina kiss in the trailer.
I mean, it's kind of weird when you think about how the game works. The game has, and obviously spoilers to everyone who's in chat, but the game has us basically weep for Joel when, you know, he's unceremoniously killed. But then we find out through flashbacks that Joel's basically died estranged to Ellie because they haven't spoken in years.
I have to quickly address something. So, people thinking that's a bad take, that it's on them for not playing a DLC. So, the DLC expands on her character a little bit and adds, like, it basically tells us that she's gay, which is not a retcon. There's no indication of her having feelings for, like, a boy in the main game. There's like there's a friendship that she has with one boy named Sam that lasts very short because Sam dies pretty quickly. But it doesn't seem to be a romantic thing, and so it's just simply the Left Behind DLC simply confirms whether or not she's straight or gay, and she's gay. And so if you have if they're deciding to, we're going to focus on Ellie being in a romantic relationship here, then well, the DLC has confirmed that she's gay, so they're being consistent with that. And people that didn't play the DLC that aren't aware of that, which, sure, like, do you think that should have been part of the main game, like, or even mentioned? Like, maybe The Last of Us did something like that with a character named Bill, who you don't even realize is gay until after you've, like, left the area that he's in. But with Ellie, they don't make any reference at all to who she would be interested in, like, in the main game. But if they're going to confirm that in the DLC, and then they're going to make a sequel where she's an adult and she's got, you know, a love interest or something, then it's like, it's personally fine with me that they're staying consistent with what they established in the DLC.
Sounds like it's a glorified.
It's not like
subplot.
it's a tie-in comic. It's not like a tie-in comic or something. We're talking about a playable DLC that's actually included in the remastered edition on PS4, which is like, if you have like, okay, so I assume if you haven't bought the remastered edition on PS4, then sure, I guess. But if you have, if you bought The Last of Us on PS4, you have access to Left Behind. It's a part of the package.
Well, it sounds from the trailer that all the focus was given to the subplot, which is not what the story is about, obviously. There's nothing wrong with interpersonal relations in a story with characters that are trying to survive and having a good time. That's fine. We expect some depth to these characters. The question is the focus. And why are we giving all this attention to this subplot, which apparently does have a lot to do with the motivations of Ellie? So
I actually, if someone asked me on stream yesterday, well, I don't think that it might not have been like I was asked specifically. I'm just a little sleep deprived, so bear with me here. But I brought up this idea, like, okay, if I was tasked with, I have to write a zombie apocalypse story that focuses on, like, LGBT issues, I would focus on, well, the fact is that humanity's numbers are dwindling and you have to procreate to, like, continue its survival. And so gay people will be forced into, like, either straight relationships, or they're just going to have to at least have sex with the opposite sex in order to procreate. And that could be maybe an interesting thing to explore, like not as a central focus, but that could be something that's like, oh, just sort of addressing, that would be a thing in a setting like this, right? And I think that people seem to agree that would be an okay way to handle LGBT issues in a zombie apocalypse story, but The Last of Us doesn't appear to be really addressing that.
If that would ever be an issue, that would be life-threatening. It would just be a preference to
I do think all of that. I do think all of that should take a back seat to sort of the world building of, hey, we're in a post-apocalyptic world where walking funguses are eating people.
Yeah, it's a minor complication.
It's additional character information, really.
Which I think was handled in the first game when you learn about that gay man. It's like, that's fine. It's a nice thing to have, but it's not.
Well,
relevant.
It's part of the story that he had a partner, and then they had a falling out, and one of them stole from the other, basically.
Right.
And then it turned out that Bill felt betrayed because we find out through, it's like small dialogue and what have you, that Bill felt betrayed because he actually had feelings for this guy.
Yeah, it's background information. You could even call it set dressing. It's nothing vital to the story. It's a little bit of world building. It's fine. Doesn't bother. I don't think it really bothers anyone. The people in the comments or people in I don't even know the reviews. The reviewers or user scores on Metacritic are saying stuff like, "This is SJW trash." I haven't seen one of those yet, so I'm sure they're out there. But I've never had an argument. I've never talked to someone like that. I
think the SJW bit can be ignored. This is really just straight trash.
Oh, okay.
I think it's just like, even if this were a straight couple being depicted here, just the dialogue is really stilted. The chemistry between the characters doesn't seem to be all that great.
Not to mention,
from what I've seen,
we have to assume that it would be the same if it was a guy. We open up on the game and then you immediately just go, "Who's this?"
Mm-hmm.
You don't know, but you have to assume that they're obviously pretty important to Ellie, more important than Joel. Otherwise, Ellie would be with Joel right now.
And the thing is that The Last of Us also has, there's a 20-year time skip in between the prologue where we see Joel's daughter Sarah dying in his arms at the very beginning of the outbreak, and then now he wakes up and he's in this quarantine zone in Boston, and then there's this woman that is in his apartment, and they're talking like from the dialogue that you're getting world building stuff, and you're getting stuff that's establishing who this character is. It's like, okay, so her name is Tess. Okay, so they're smugglers. Okay, so they work for ration cards, basically, because the government has placed in martial law, so they're rationing out food and supplies, and so their commodity is ration cards, and they smuggle stuff for those. It's really cool, So you don't know who this character is when you first meet her, but all of the dialogue that is in that first cutscene, and the first bit where you're actually walking around in this quarantine zone, is there to establish what are these characters up to, and then you get to know this character Tess, for the next few hours until she gets killed off.
Here's a super chat from Jake the Surgeon. Thank you, sir. Thanks, Neil. I don't care for alphabet people now. Well, it's one way to look at the reactions to The Last of Us and how you think of characters, why you dislike them, not just because of their sexuality, whether that's relevant to the story, whether they were good characters to begin with. So however you describe them, they obviously have a positive impact on your experience.
I think it's the way that I would prefer LGBT characters in storytelling is either, like you said, Smudboy, either it's set dressing, it's a little bit of world building, but it doesn't have a whole lot of impact on the plot. It's just kind of normalized, they don't make a big deal out of it. They're not sucking their own dicks about, look how progressive we are. We have a gay person in our cast. And you don't want them to be token. You don't want them to just serve no purpose in the story whatsoever except to tick off a box. They should certainly serve a purpose in the story, but their sexuality doesn't necessarily have to be justified by the narrative itself. It can just be there.
Right. Okay.
I mean, it's the gaming community. Gamers got pretty upset about this. You had a lot of videos going up saying that Naughty Dog is pushing
Oh, boy.
a radically progressive agenda to virtue signal to the LGBT community, and it's going to ruin the story of the game, and that Naughty Dog is losing its touch, and blah, 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 blah. Most people in the gaming community, I think, were cool with it, but a pretty...
So the idea is if you're shoehorning in a romance for the purpose of doing LGBT representation, if the romance itself wouldn't be in the game if it weren't for like the fact that it's LGBT,
Box, yeah.
yeah, it's like then yeah, it is forced. People don't seem to understand the idea that like characters can just be shoehorned in and can just be pointless.
It's like getting a handout.
Exactly. And it's like characters can serve no purpose in the story, and those characters can come into existence specifically just to tick off a box, and that is it. But they can just be like utterly useless and pointless. And that's the kind of thing. It's like, you know, if anything, we're actually a little bit more progressive than Xander Hall here, because we're actually asking for LGBT characters to be important to a story and not just shoehorned in.
We don't see gay people as objects to be included to tick a box.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They're regular people like you and me.
So
I mean, sometimes
Make them
they're
compelling.
crazy, but
Being gay does not make them compelling. Being a character makes them compelling.
exactly.
Technically, I shouldn't have to give a shout out to this person. This is LiteratureDevil. Thank you, LiteratureDevil, for helping us out in our time of need. Not that we're suffering yet, but we might get there soon. Bread tubers are the human centipede of YouTube. Well, I don't know exactly what you're getting at there, sir, but we're going to find out. I hope. Or not. No, I hope not. There we go. That's a better reaction. Okay. Don't know what he's talking about, guys. We have no clue. LiteratureDevil, he's just goofing around.
Mm-hmm.
Most people in the gaming community, I think, were cool with it, but a pretty significant, non-negligible amount of them were very upset.
By the way, how many did you actually know of anyone who said that they think the game will suck because this woman looks like a man?
It's been an ongoing joke
Kiss?
in memes, but no, that was never an argument.
I don't see. Well, I couldn't respect anyone who came to the conclusion that the game sucked because two women kissed.
No.
I honestly haven't heard that either. I think that was just like there's an uncomfortable amount of time being spent in this trailer focusing on this kiss. Especially if like the kiss itself is sort of like uncanny valley.
Yeah.
Which I felt. Now a lot of people said, oh, it's also the most detailed like the most detailed rendered kiss in gaming or something, which might be true. It's still uncanny valley. And so when they're like focusing on it so much, it's kind of strange. Especially again, we don't know Dina. That's just the thing. we don't know this character.
It's just person.
So here's another super chat from Jake the Surgeon. Thank you, sir. They have an alphabet person beating a beloved character to death, if I recall correctly. To me, that's a little bit focused. I don't think Abby is an alphabet person. I just think she's really buff. It seems strange that she's like, if you see her arms in Last of Us 2 in other scenes, she is huge. Like she's really decked out. So
It's really weird because the game goes back and forth between like periods of time.
yes,
And there are flashbacks to where like Abby looks normal.
yes,
And I don't mean that in a bad way, but normally women, especially of that sort of slender frame, do not look that big when they get jacked up.
right.
I think the idea is that they like at this like in those flashbacks, she's still in the middle of like, I don't know, doing some workout routine. She's trying to build mass. She hasn't built the mass yet. If there's
Carrying wood cutting factories to where the wood is.
yeah, I mean, it's very, very strange to me that anyone could keep that level of mass in a post-apocalyptic setting, like 25 years after the apocalypse.
You might go days without eating as well.
Yeah, and you have to eat a lot of calories to gain weight. You have to like to build muscle and everything, and then to keep that muscle. If you don't eat, you lose your muscle mass. And so to think of like how much food she must eat in order to like, I have to wonder if she's like a cannibal or something. Like if she eats a whole human a day, it's really jarring, especially because, you know, this would be it would take a lot of food for just a man who can more easily like build mass than a woman can. But this is a woman we're talking about.
And we're not saying, when we say that, we're not saying it's impossible for women to get this buff. Of course, those people are out there. They go into bodybuilding or weightlifting competitions.
Totally.
I've seen these people, but in a post-apocalyptic world where food is scarce and you're spending almost every day on the run, which is what Abby's entire group does, then I find it very implausible that anyone could like be this swole 4 years into an outbreak.
Well, Voice, if your idea is that you want to make a game where a woman is that buff, and that's your agenda, you want to represent very buff, masculinely built women, then you can go ahead and put that before story, before like actual in-universe logic.
Here's Jake the Surgeon on the topic. Thank you, sir. I'd assume she eats half a movie bob a day. We don't know the exact measurement of movie bob, let alone how he can even eat a McDonald's serving according to his specs. So I don't know what that would constitute. That could be 12 hamburgers. That could be half a cow. We're not sure.
She needs to do the movie bob challenge at least twice a week to keep that level of mass.
Well, at least for her upper body. I don't know about the rest of her body, but to get those arms the way they are, like you would just be lifting things constantly.
She doesn't do lower body because there's no ass or thighs on that character. I've looked.
Okay.
It's all upper body.
All right, let's keep going.
Skip leg day.
Glad we have a professional on the side here.
Absolutely.
The drama didn't stop there, though.
Wait a second, we went backwards somehow.
Huh?
Did we?
Okay.
The main protagonist, a woman who's surviving in the apocalypse, not hot enough. She doesn't wear makeup or revealing clothing. She doesn't, she's cute, but she is not like fuckable by most gamers.
No one has made this argument whatsoever. They see Ellie as a daughter
14.
figure. Yeah, I've never heard this before. Let's just keep going.
Standards,
That's gross.
So there was a lot of controversy that came from that as well. But we're not talking about any of that, because all of that is just what you can be expected. Like that's all you can expect from the reactionary gamer side of YouTube when a new game comes out.
Give me one name. Name me one person who ever said that. I haven't seen that at all.
Super hype. Today, we're talking about the more recent drama. So a couple months ago, The Last of Us 2 had a shit ton of content leaked onto the internet. There were a few clips of gameplay, and there were a bunch of plot leaks that were very well substantiated from very reputable sources, and just a lot of like clips from the game and stuff like that. A lot of leaks, like a lot of shit leaked. Basically, the whole story leaked.
I'm just reading the comments on the left-hand side. It's like these guys have never heard of people before. Gamers are weak. Gamer bros are the worst. That's weird. They increased her muscle mass, made her look strong. Jesus, this is retarded. Did their mommy block Pornhub? Like, what is going on?
There's a difference. There's a difference between like being defined because you've had to put in a lot of exercise to survive, to run, to climb, to move heavy things, to swing weapons around. You build that muscle that way and get definition, but that does not mean that you get gorilla-sized arms. That's like you're naturally big and you're eating 300,000 calories a day.
I have a friend. I have a friend who, like a longtime friend, like of about 8 years, who is gay, and loved the first game, and was really looking forward to this one. And recently, like I haven't spoken to her much, but she recently liked my Facebook post in which I basically posted a screenshot of me telling Neil Druckmann "fuck you" because of what he did with the story. And I assume that implies that she is not a fan of the game either. And you have to understand, she is majorly left-leaning, okay? Super left-leaning, like almost to SJW degrees. I'm friends with her still, don't agree with her on everything on politics, but we get along fine, you know. But she seems to not be pleased with the game. You know what? I will look and see if she has said anything herself, and I can go over that later if you guys wish.
All right, let's keep going though right now.
Yep.
As far as I'm aware, the embargo ended today, so I can actually watch the whole game on YouTube right now if I wanted to. I haven't yet. I will be after this stream, so I may be wrong. And for the most part, the reception to the spoilers was extremely overwhelmingly negative, because the spoilers focused heavily, or at least people focused heavily, on the character Abby and something that she does somewhere around the beginning of the game. So, Abby, for those of you that aren't aware,
I'm going to say we attacked her for her looks.
Abby looks like this. This is her.
Strong.
So for those of you that aren't aware, Abby is the daughter of, for those of you who are super familiar with The Last of Us, she is the daughter of one.
Sorry, just to clarify here, the left picture that's highlighted up here was from a trailer in which her arms were actually skinnier than how they were presented in the one on the right. The picture on the right side of the screen. Now, from what I'm hearing, Voice, you've played through the whole game, right? I haven't played through the game yet myself. I've seen footage, and I've seen all the spoilers and everything. I pretty much know everything.
I've only gone up to the 3-hour mark, but I've watched the whole thing.
Okay, so then from your watch of the whole thing, when she's holding this hammer here on the left side after almost being lynched by the cult, okay?
Yeah.
Is that taking some time after she's like swole in the prologue?
I think it's a continuation. I can't remember. Is it a flashback? No, it's a continuation because she runs into this little snot-nosed kid that is basically like Diet Atreus from God of War.
Oh, wait. You know, actually, I think I remember that they had a more recent trailer of that same scene, but her arms were bigger. So they actually did make her arms bigger.
They did. Well, it's the same. They did the same with Joel. They aged him in the flashback scenes that he appears in. Mm-hmm. So it seems like it's continuation of the story, but then they revert back to the original model for when they're actually in the flashbacks, because obviously this was taken before he was killed.
Right.
So it was the false advertising that, these are going to be scenes with Joel that you'll have later in the game, and look, he's old, he's been surviving a while. It's like, nope, this was 3 years ago, and they fell out because Joel lied to Ellie at the end of the last game.
Now, maybe it's just because the picture is a little small on my screen, but is it just me, or does the one on the left seem at least a little bit more plausible than the one on the right?
I would say so, yes. She's got a very weird scowl on her face, but yes.
It's a lean, like sort of a lean, trim, athletic look. Flat-chested, of course, but flat-chested women exist, so it's fine. It's fine to have a flat-chested woman in your game, and she can also be ugly. But the level of muscle on her in the left side of the
I think it's the shoulders. I think it's the I've forgotten that part of the body. Where your shoulder blades are and your collarbone,
and I
think it's that.
It's just possibly the way that the chest makes it look like their pectoral muscles more than like breasts,
Anyway, I don't like looking at it. Let's continue.
Very aesthetically unpleasing.
Super familiar with The Last of Us. She is the daughter of one of the doctors that Joel killed at the end of The Last of Us 1. Just killed. He killed her dad in cold blood, and ever since then she's been hunting him, plotting revenge.
I'd like to point out that we have no choice in that.
Joel being the main character from The Last.
Yeah, it's it's something they do in The Last of Us, but they do it a whole lot more in The Last of Us 2, where they'd be like, you have to kill this dog, and you go, I don't want to kill this dog. So you cannot progress the game unless you kill this dog, so you have to kill the dog. And then the game goes, oh my god, you piece of shit, you killed the dog, don't you feel bad? And I was like, no, you made me do it. I had no choice in the matter. I'm a victim here. It's like, yeah, but you're a piece of garbage now. You killed the dog. Fuck you. You're being pretentious.
The last person that you can kill in The Last of Us. So you're like in this operating room, and there's 3 surgeons, and there's one that's holding a scalpel up to Joel. And no matter what happens, you are going to kill him. Even if you don't shoot him, Joel walks forward, takes the scalpel, and digs it into his throat. You have the choice to kill the other 2, though. You can spare the other 2, or you can kill them. But the surgeon with a scalpel, he has to be killed. There's no other way to progress.
You can't like shoot him in the foot and he fall over or anything, or like Southpaw says, you walk over and disarm him and then just drop the knife.
Yeah, and
he dies.
And that surgeon is going to be Abby's father. So
it's kind of weird, isn't it? It's like taking a background character and then painting all this. I'm okay with it because it happens all the time, but it feels kind of I can't put my finger on it. It feels kind of strange to be like, oh yeah, hell, this guy, here's his entire backstory, and he had a daughter.
Sure, there's like this aspect of is it plausible that this guy would have had a daughter? Like, sure. And then would the daughter have a way of tracking down Joel? Possibly, because the militia that the guy was affiliated with, Joel's brother Tommy used to be affiliated with. Their leader, Marlene, probably would have told them, yeah, Tommy's brother, Joel, is in the hospital now, and then when Joel does his rampage, she's telling her men who he is and everything. So that when Joel kills her and massacres a bunch of her men, they'll know who it was, and they'll be able to tell Abby who was responsible for killing her father. Those are all things that I do believe objectively can make sense.
Can happen.
Yes. That's stuff that actually can be supported by what's in climax of the game. So I still hate the direction that they're taking with it. I think it robs us of any chance of like interesting, engaging development between Joel and Ellie, or just for Joel himself, and killing him off this early and in such a humiliating way. And I understand like this is supposed to be a cruel world that we're looking at here. It's supposed to be very harsh, and so anyone can die, and that's a great way to set that tone, or it's an effective way to set that tone, I suppose. But it's not going to be very satisfying for people.
It's strange because they get the ending first and they work backwards and say, okay, now let's build up Abby's character so that we know why she did what she did. It's like, okay, that's great. Why did you do that the first time?
So they do that for everything. They kill off Joel and then they be like, hey, here's the entire backstory of everything you've missed. Turns out Joel was actually a piece of shit, and Ellie found out that he lied to her, and they've drifted apart. And every time Joel stepped in to try and do a thing, Ellie's been like, hey, fuck you.
And my problem with that is the fact that Joel is actually, if you're comparing him to everyone else that you see in The Last of Us, he's actually like a pretty good person, all things considered. He's not like the hunters who slaughter anyone that enters their turf in Pittsburgh. He's like he runs across a dude, Henry, who he thinks is a hunter, and starts beating the shit out of him, and stops when Ellie points out that Henry has this little brother named Sam. Like they don't know these characters' names at this point. This is their first time meeting them, but Ellie notices, oh, they have this guy has a little brother, and the hunters don't keep children. They mention that explicitly because they have this extreme Darwinist philosophy, survival of the fittest. Okay.
Yeah.
And so Joel is a better person than the hunters because he doesn't, just kill children, or he refuses to help children or whatever. He's accompanying a child almost the entire game. He is not a cannibal as far as we know. Now, it's said that he used to be a hunter, but he's no longer one. He's a smuggler now. He's not a utilitarian who is going to cut open a child's head and kill them without their consent for a chance at a cure that they would probably just simply use to manipulate people, like for their own ulterior motives. And he's not a pedophilic cannibal rapist. Like, those are all different kinds of enemies that you run across in the game, and everyone that Joel kills is it's only people that are trying to kill him. He is only killing in defense of himself, Ellie, his other AI companions. He's doing it for survival purposes and nothing more. And now the game is trying to say that, oh, he's a bad person because everyone that he kills has a family member. It's like the game itself is trying to say that killing, no matter what the circumstances, what the context is wrong. And that's something I heavily disagree with. Yes.
But then, of course, they kill Joel brutally. And he's killed brutally, estranged to Ellie, and then we find out through flashbacks that the last few years of his life have been fucking awful.
And not to mention that the writers did make Joel and Tommy dumb in order for that golf club scene to happen. Like, yes, their intelligence drops significantly. Joel should be using an alias with strangers.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. They start off with the Joel and Ellie stuff, and Joel, when they're in the flashbacks, and Joel goes when they're going through the area with spores, he tells Ellie to put a mask on, and Ellie's like, "But I'm immune." It's like, doesn't matter. We might run into someone, and then they're going to ask questions. So he's obviously very careful with what he does when he goes out and about. But then he meets this bunch of strangers who are being very cagey, and Tommy goes, "Oh yeah, I'm Tommy, and this is," and he goes, "And I'm Joel." And he's like, "Oh fuck!" And everyone instantly is like, "It's you."
Not to mention, so someone mentions that Joel went beast mode, torturing and killing at the end of the first game. Like, yeah, he does shoot a guy in the crotch twice as he's like trying to get information for where in the hospital Ellie is. That's true, but again, we're talking about utilitarians that are going to murder a little girl for a chance at a cure that they're probably going to use just for themselves and keep away from the rest of the world. That's utilitarianism, like extreme utilitarianism, and it's actually highly immoral. I understand, like if you
they never wake her up. They never wake her up and be like, "We have this thing. This is how it's going to be." They find her unconscious with Joel. They knock Joel unconscious, and they keep them both sedated until they're ready to perform the operation on Ellie. And Joel wakes up and be like, "What the fuck's happened?"
And then, like when Ellie wakes up in the back of the truck as Joel's driving her away, she's like, "What happened?" Like she's wearing this paper dress for the surgery and everything, and she doesn't know what's going on. So it's like they obviously didn't wake her up. They obviously didn't tell her, like, because she doesn't even realize that they found the fireflies. So that's like, if you frame it in a trolley problem kind of question, it's like, well, Joel can either let the trolley kill one person, or he flips the lever and it's going to essentially doom all of humanity to never getting a cure. Or at least the fireflies from ever getting a cure. But at the same time, it's like they are going to murder someone. Morally speaking, he's doing the right thing. He's acting in a way that is God. What's the phrase? I don't know what exactly the type of morality is. Sorry, I'm sleep deprived, so I'm drawing a blank here.
It's okay. I'm not sure either.
It's a very I'd say
situational
standard...
ethics.
Say what?
Situational ethics.
Yeah, basically, it's basically that. Altruism, actually, altruistic is what I was thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah, and Ken Kaneki got that. Hey, thank you.
Nice.
So yes, it's an altruistic type of morality that Joel has, which is a much stronger basis for morality than utilitarianism. Because utilitarianism sounds great on paper until you think, well, would you be okay with, someone murdering you or someone you care about in order for all of humanity to be saved?
And I think it's worth pointing out. People are saying, of course, the vaccine's not a guarantee.
It's not.
I've never heard of a vaccine that can cure fungal infestations.
What it could probably do is it could at least it would make you immune to the virus, so that if you got bit, you'd be okay.
Perhaps, yeah.
Like, I think that's the idea. Is it's obviously not going to do anything to cure the clickers.
Apparently,
which, like, oh fuck me! Imagine like being a clicker and then you get cured, and now you're like back to being your normal self, but you look like a clicker. Like,
you go like crap on your face.
Fucking kill me, please!
I'm in immense pain.
I'm blind.
In order to find the cure, they had to take apart a part of her brain, which assumes they'd have to dissect it and research what actually happened, as opposed to finding something in her blood or her endocrine system or something like that. So it's something to do with the nervous system, which is like, okay, great, you're going to research an aspect of the brain with one or two doctors or whomever, and then what? That'll take years to figure out. Tests you have to run, other people you have to experiment on. Like it sounds very far fetched.
And
Yeah, so it's kind of like, oh, this is great, but you're going to kill someone just to look at her brain? Like that's.
But of course, the whole point is that Joel is killed essentially. Despite all of this, Joel is killed essentially by being stupid, and then we find out that there is no relationship between Joel or Ellie that's still left through flashbacks, and it kind of makes you wonder what Ellie's motivation is when you find these flashbacks out and be like, so wait, why am I doing this? Because Ellie essentially finds out and tells Joel, I never want to see you again, basically. And you know, then you go, so what happened in between? Why do I care now?
Can I actually read out? So this is a part of the script from the game. So there's like items that you can pick up, and some of them are like recorders. And there's a surgeon's recorder that you can pick up in the hospital while you're like progressing through it, slaughtering fireflies. So this actually will confirm that the vaccine is basically not a shot in the dark. So April 28th, Marlene was right. The girl's infection is like nothing I've ever seen. The cause of her immunity is uncertain. As we've seen in all past cases, the antigenic titers of the patient's cordyceps remain high in both the serum and the cerebrospinal fluid. Blood cultures taken from the patient rapidly grow cordyceps and fungal media in the lab. However, white blood cell lines, including percentages and absolute counts, are completely normal. There is no elevation of pro-inflammatory cytokines, and an MRI of the brain shows no evidence of fungal growth in the limbic regions, which would normally accompany the prodrome of aggression in infected patients. We must find a way to replicate this state under laboratory conditions. We're about to hit a milestone in human history equal to the discovery of penicillin. After years of wandering in circles, we're about to come home, make a difference, and bring the human race back into control of its own destiny. All of our sacrifices and the hundreds of men who've bled for this cause, or worse, will not be in vain. So it's like it's not a shot. It's not a guarantee. Is the thing here? Like it's promising. Like she's got something special, but again, it's not really confirmed that this is it.
All right, let's keep going.
Plotting revenge and wants to kill Joel. Joel being the main character from the last game. So, in the spoiled, leaked footage, Abby murders Joel. She just whoosh, turns his head into Hamburger Helper with a golf club here. Now, whether or not you whether or not you think that this is a good idea, the response to it was, in my opinion, pretty damn indefensible. So you had a few responses. Let's be completely fair to the gamer bros out there. You had the people who were just upset that Joel died because Joel was a character they really liked. And, you know, it's sad seeing him go. I mean, the same thing happened back when Season 6 of The Walking Dead came out. When Negan killed Abraham and Glenn, a lot of people reacted the same way. They decided they didn't want to watch The Walking Dead anymore, it got too depressing, and two of their favorite characters got killed off in a very brutal way. It was Season 6, guys. Wait, was it Season 7?
Season 7, but...
Yeah, it was Season 7, you're right, sorry. That happened. So that's understandable. That's one thing.
Season 7.
Then, you have the dudes who are mad that that Abby looks muscular. There's been a lot of people saying that she's trans. I'll have you know she is probably not. There's been no confirmation. Excuse me. There's been no confirmation as.
By the way, hi LiteratureDevil. How are you doing today?
Hello, finally made it.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, finally made it. So, so how are we bigots this week?
You know what? He hasn't been insane yet. I'm impressed. He's just listing what's happening and talking about the leaks. It's like, yeah, this is fine. This is all fine so far.
He actually gave us he provided his audience with a good faith explanation for why some people are upset about the way that about Joel getting killed off. I think that he misses the part that we're upset about the way in which he's getting killed off, which is with a golf club, which should probably break upon the first blow. You know, just the way, like it's a putter, not a driver, so it's going to be a little bit more fragile. But yeah, it's so far it seems like he's being fairly reasonable here.
It's kind of strange considering the video is called Reactionary Gamers or Seething.
Yeah, he hasn't gotten to that yet, so I'm wondering when he's going to start showing examples of reaction. First of all, I want to see a reactionary gamer, and then I want to see them getting angry. So.
We're all
Maybe
reactionary
you
gamers.
need to look in a mirror, guys.
If you're all have wrong think, we all have wrong think. Also, did you give the proper warning that Xander Hall videos, like all BreadTuber videos, can give you dangerous amounts of smug? Just watch out. They may be fatal to your health. The amount of smugness that comes off every minute of BreadTuber's video.
The comments are the funniest thing for me. They're always saying gamer bros or this or that. Like, what the hell are they? Who's a gamer bro over The Last of Us? I've never seen a gamer bro talk about a story-driven game.
Gamer bros don't play Last of Us. Okay.
I would assume gamer bros play Call of Duty or whatever.
Yes. Gamer bros play Halo, Call of Duty. Those are gamer bros. Okay, gamer bros. You imagine a gamer college frat party coming in playing The Last of Us? I don't think so. They might play like Left 4 Dead or something. They might play a generic zombie shooter, but they're not going to play The Last of Us. There's no gamer bro who plays The Last of Us, at least not in the, not in a frat party setting. When they're being gamer bros, drinking, guzzling down beer, and yelling and having a good time. That's what they depict gamer bros as. Those aren't gamer bros. Okay. If they play Last of Us, it's going to be on their own time. They're not going to be. It's not going to be fitting into quote unquote gamer bro culture.
The Last of Us is honestly, it's a lot more diverse of a game than I remembered. Like Sam and Henry, the two characters I mentioned, they're black. You've got Bill, who was revealed to be gay after you finish the section that he's in, because he apparently collects like gay porno magazines.
That was all for a joke, though.
That was all for a joke, but not to mention there's the whole stuff with his partner Frank. Like that kind of implies something there. But
I asked it before. I'll ask it again. What does it matter? Who cares? Do they forget the zombie apocalypse out there? What is all this focus on character sexuality? Who cares? You can breathe in some air and become a zombie. I think that's more important than who is dating who.
All right, here's a
I totally agree with that.
Here's a super chat from Mr. X. Thank you, sir. Enjoy some bigot sandwiches on me, gentlemen. Well, thank you very much, Mr. X. I appreciate it.
Those are the best sandwiches, yeah.
Tastes like the 60s.
Steak, apparently.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
steak is the best.
the guy comes out because that's a clip that we've watched, isn't it? It's this old guy sunning drunk at the party towards Ellie and is it Dina?
Yeah, he said something like that. He apologizes. He makes
calls them dykes, but then he apologizes by making them sandwiches. It's like, motherfucker, you are in the zombie apocalypse. If some guy came up to me and said, "Listen, I deeply regret what I said. Here's a steak sandwich to make up for it," like, mate, water under the bridge. I will half this with you. It's a steak sandwich.
That's luxury beyond luxury in a zombie apocalypse. Where are you going to get steak now?
It's like he's better than like cured meat on like sourdough bread.
Like he's not just apologizing verbally. He is giving her basically a gift for her and her girlfriend, by the way.
And then he like tries to make a conversation. He's like, "Yeah, I hear you're going out today," and Ellie's just like, "Yep."
Also,
okay, well, good luck.
There's like no forgiveness, no grace from Ellie.
Are these guys supposed to be like big brain? The developers behind the games be these big brain people questioning morality and asking questions you're not supposed to be asking or whatever it is. They make you kill dogs, that sort of thing. These are the same people, but they can't entertain the notion of exploring a guy who's bigoted and having him be bigoted and heroic, or maybe having him make fun of Ellie for being gay or whatever, and then later on having him step in and defend them even though he doesn't like them.
Exactly, but there's a bit where he goes, he walks into the bar and he's like, listen, I'd had too much to drink last night and I shouldn't have said what I said. And Ellie's like, yeah, sure. He's like, look, I'm sorry, okay? I made you these sandwiches. That's basically the conversation.
The thing is, it's coming from the mindset of a social justice warrior, an NPC, or whatever it is. There is no forgiveness. There is no absolution.
Exactly.
It's eternal apology, and nothing. It's always Sisyphus. It's a Sisyphean feat to get absolution from these people because it'll never ever happen.
There's no redemption. There's no grace. There is no you can become a better person, or it's all in the past. It's like, is this supposed to be you go, Ellie, you told off that bigot or whatever, that
he made you sandwiches.
It's exactly what's supposed to be. It's exactly what's supposed to be. It's supposed to be, oh, Ellie, you're not supposed to forgive these people. You're supposed to demonize them forever, and so it's be a you go girl moment.
Where are you getting steak from in the zombie apocalypse? That's right. A cow. There's a limited supply of that.
Privileged lifestyle from the creators of the game. They live in a land of plenty, so they think even the zombie apocalypse is going to be a land of plenty.
That steak. I don't know, if you were Abby, you'd need 7 or 8 of those for lunch.
I mean, I'm dealing with some people that are really upset about my recently viral tweets about The Last of Us 2, and they're assuming that I'm a bigot and everything. It's like, guys, you do not know who you're talking to here. I have my first appearance on this podcast on me being the token liberal of the so-called Chudcast. No offense, it was me talking about toxic masculinity, and I even had a dude make fun of me over that in the comments. It's like, do you guys not understand what I actually believe in? There's someone saying, oh, I only care about fridging when it happens to a man. It's like, okay, I've criticized it when it happened to Black Widow in Endgame. I criticized it, with the Taken movies and how
fridging.
Yeah, but
I don't care if it happens to anybody. I don't care if it happens to a man or a woman. It doesn't matter to me.
Oh, well, I think the issue with fridging is just that it's kind of it's a lazy, stock, sort of cliche way to motivate a character into action. Especially if the character that's being fridged is either just recently introduced, or B, this is a character that used to have a lot of agency in the story and is then just killed off for shock value to then motivate a different character.
Oh yeah, it's really dumb when they kill off main characters for shock value. Really dumb when they kill off main characters for shock value. Horribly dumb. Right, Last of Us.
Can we talk about the idea that some old drunk guy insults Ellie's sexuality one night, Ellie's no forgiveness, then some girl kills her father figure and Ellie lets them go.
Oh, that's a good point.
There's more forgiveness for a literal murderer than someone who just made a joke or made a snide comment about their sexuality.
Yeah, you're loudmouth guy. He's like, I'm never forgiving you, no matter how many steak sandwiches you give me. Some guy beats your father figure to death with a golf club, lets them live at the end.
Yeah, but if you bite her fingers off, then all is forgiven.
Oh yeah, I didn't need those fingers anyways. They were actually giving me a bit of a disadvantage in
force
my
you need
life.
to cut off a finger with your teeth. And
you can. That's the thing. You can. The human body, the human jaw does have the bite force to go straight through your own fingers. The reason why you don't is if you have empathy, you don't have the willpower to do it. Essentially,
in my opinion, the number 8 is greater than the number 10 because math is subjective. Now, I also just wanted to quickly mention. So that was a really good point about how the killer of Joel gets more forgiveness than a guy that said something rude to her one night. But I also think it's funny that you have this. There's 2 different pieces of pop culture, entertainment. You've got The Last of Us 2, where guy says something rude, apologizes for it, and is then totally shot down and rejected over it, and even called a bigot afterwards after he tried making things right. And then you have Toy Story 4, where Gabby basically holds a toy hostage, extorts Woody to give her like basically an organ that's important to him, and then just gets away with it and is then accepted into like Woody's little friend circle, and he helps her get a kid without her even apologizing. Like, she doesn't apologize. She gets her happy ending. The movie is acting as though this is just great. And then you've got Last of Us 2, where a guy says something and does something like way, way less harmful than what Gabby Gabby does. He apologizes, and then you've got this character who's supposed to be the main character, who's supposed to be this likable hero, basically being an asshole to him. And it's intended to be like, yeah, you're supposed to side with Ellie here. It's just the morals that are being taught in our art today are so fucked. It's going to be incredible seeing how people are like 20 years from now, 30 years from now.
Also, on that note, what does it matter if he's a bigot or not? It's a zombie apocalypse. If he's on your side and he's useful, it doesn't really matter. Are you just really going to kick him out because he has some opinions you don't approve of? He's not killing them. That's kind of what happens when you're in a zombie apocalypse. You can't really choose your friends anymore. You kind of have to seek out allies who are willing to not murder you in your sleep. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good
standard. Yeah, you're gonna kill me? No, awesome. We're friends.
We're friends. I don't care. Like, yeah, I don't like you because your skin color. I don't care. Are you gonna kill me in my sleep? No. Well, then I don't care. You can hate me all you want. We're friends for now. It's like have you ever seen Band of Brothers? That show.
Yeah.
Some of those guys actually legitimately hate each other, but they stand with each other because they're a band of brothers. Okay, that's how it is going to be. That's how it is, or how it should be in these zombie apocalypse. You don't have the luxury of saying, "Oh, are you a bigot?" Yes. Well, then you can't come with us. It doesn't really work that way. Okay, you have to work with people you don't like or don't approve of. Same thing with bigots. Okay, the actual bigots, same thing for them. They're going to have to work with people they don't like in order to survive. They can't really let their bigotry run their lives anymore.
The conversation should go, you're a bigot, but are you good in a fight? Okay. That's kind of the more important thing.
Meanwhile, an ally has killed Pietro Maximoff and Hoban Washburn. He's referring to Joss Whedon here. On the outrage. Yeah, it's true. Like, people, they get outraged when it happens to a woman, but not when it happens to a man. Like, that's the funny thing that I find about all this. I think the double standard's amusing.
For example, if Ray was Raymond, I'm pretty sure no one would be. There would be no like Jedi defenders coming along. At least very few. Definitely would be any Raylos. I don't think. At least it'd be a lot fewer. I think.
That would imply that the relationship would not be heterosexual.
Well, unless they maybe made Kylo a woman.
That'd be the thing, they'd be gay.
Oh, that would be awesome. I would like to see a female villain.
Sith. Why have we never had a female Sith?
Not in the movies, anyway. I don't know. I guess I don't want to go that far. I'm pretty sure a lot of Star Wars fans would really enjoy that.
I think there's a female Sith Inquisitor in Fallen Order, actually. It's not as Ventress.
And it's also Ventress in Clone Wars. But we haven't had one in the movies yet, I don't think.
Yeah. Would be interesting.
Unless you count Ghost Ray.
Bilbo Teeth Ray.
Exactly. And here's really dumb lightsaber that was proven to be dumb by Shadiversity.
That was a great video.
I think anyone looking at that could say that was stupid design, but anyway, guys,
broke it down.
We're going off topic, so let's get back.
Let's continue.
Confirmation. Excuse me. There's been no confirmation as to whether or not Abby is trans. I'm pretty sure it's just gamers seeing like a muscular cis woman and saying, "Oh, she must be trans." So that's
It is kind of hard to tell. You've got to be honest.
You love to see that, don't you? And then finally, there's the real fucked up shit. Last night, I went to a video of the scene where Abby kills Joel, and I read the comments. I made the grave mistake of reading the comments. And most of them, I'm not exaggerating here, most of these comments were people unironically, in detail, plotting how they would kill the game developers if they had the opportunity. Like how bad they want to kill Neil Druckmann, the guy who's like the creative director.
Pretty sure most of those guys were being
The Last of Us 2.
hyperbolic.
The SJW devs, how bad they wanted to kill them. Like literally plotting in detail how they would murder them.
Yeah, YouTube has lots of crazy people. That's great, Xander. Thanks.
I mean,
And
your
you know,
comment section's filled of them.
yeah, there's a lot of crazy comment people. It gets pretty crazy. Also, Druckmann did a lot. He had a big hand in getting people this angry at him. He started to shut down businesses and YouTube channels and got people struck. It did a lot of. It wasn't just smugness. It was outright malicious attacks on YouTube videos and people's businesses and livelihoods.
So
So
you're gonna
he
explain
messed
us-
with people's money. So he messed with people's ability to put food on the table. They're going to get angry at you.
is this man going to supply the clip of the video he has watched or anything?
Or like show the comments.
No.
like
As far as I've seen, I don't think
Snapshot.
Xander's ever. I don't think he's a kind of a. I don't think he's an evidence guy. I think he's kind of like a feelings guy.
Story.
I when I was streaming the ending of Last of Us last night, someone asked me if I would fuck Neil Druckmann. I said I wouldn't fuck Neil Druckmann. I would rape Neil Druckmann as a joke. Like that's just a thing that I said to be edgy. I don't normally like make rape jokes, and I think like edgy jokes are funny, or like they're funnier when they're coming from someone that doesn't normally make those kinds of jokes. And so, but the thing is like I don't want Neil Druckmann. I don't want harm to come to him. Okay, I'm very pissed with him, and I think that he deserves like all the hatred, just the barrage of hatred that's going and flooding his Twitter mentions right now. Okay, but I don't want.
I do declare.
What?
Let me clutch my pearls real quick.
Well, I don't want him dead. I don't want him harmed. I just want him to be fired. I want him fired. I want him to have to step down from the job. I want him to realize that he is a failure of a writer, that his story is hated by everyone. That's not a progressive fart huffing critic working with IGN and
Should have at least made an attempt to understand where people are coming from with what he's done.
yeah,
But it
like
doesn't be that even.
I would love like a public apology that he really destroyed a lot of people's love of the game and tainted their memory and their experience with the first game. I would love for him to be humiliated and have to live on knowing that he failed this badly. That's what I want for Neil Druckmann. I don't care if I don't want him to die because that means that
Just
he
deep
doesn't suffer.
just deep psychological pain.
Can we stop having these people? Can everyone just stop being political activists? We don't need a legion of political activists everywhere. We don't need everything to be political activism. Sometimes we can have a cigar just be a cigar. You know what I mean? We can just and also, can they stop applauding themselves? Can they stop patting themselves on the back for such a quote unquote good job they did and actually do a good job rather than just pump out a turd and say it was a good job? Like you sprinkle that thing with diamonds, it's still a turd. That's what you do. That's what you've done. And from what I've seen is that Last of Us 2 is basically coming from the same place, the same dark void, the same dark abyss that pumped out The Last Jedi. It's same arrogance, same division. It's horrible stuff. I wouldn't touch that thing. I've watched The Last Jedi twice already. I don't need to play this game. All right? I've already seen The Last Jedi.
Subverting expectations for the sake of subverting expectations. It's like, they think, oh, I am such a legitimate artist because I am doing things that no other story has done. Yeah, there's a reason why no story has done this. It's because, there's I know that people don't want to agree with this, but there are kind of rules to storytelling. There's this there's a certain thing, there's a certain pattern of like rules or certain patterns that you can follow from different stories that have resonated with a lot of people. There are proven ways that you can get a vast majority of your target audience or all of your target audience to connect to the characters that are in your story. You look at stories like Lord of the Rings versus stories like, I don't know, Last of Us Part 2. There's clearly a disconnect. There's a disparity in between how the audience is able to engage with the Lord of the Rings characters versus how they're able to engage with them on Last of Us Part 2, Last Jedi, Game of Thrones Season 8, Batwoman, you name it. Okay? There is there's a clear way that you can get a vast majority of people to like your characters, and so or like your story, right? And I'm not saying that there's only one way that you can do this certain thing, right? I'm just saying there are some roads that are supposed to not be traveled, okay? and this is one of them. Killing off main characters that everyone loves, that everyone has grown attached to for 7 years, like just for shock value, and then you're not even going to give the player the catharsis to kill the person that killed him. I mean, fuck. I'm seeing people on Twitter. They haven't seen the leaks. They haven't seen any of the spoilers, but they've played through the prologue. They're like, "All right, I'm gonna butcher the person that killed Joel." Like, oh boy, oh you're not gonna have fun with this. So I'm done. I'm sorry for talking a lot, but
And to quote one of my videos, yes, fiction has rules.
Yes, there are rules, and if you know how to break them, that means you've already mastered the rules and why they work. And killing off a protagonist in the first 10% of your game, we've seen it with Mass Effect 2, we've seen it with, well, now The Last of Us 2. It's just a bad... Unless you know what you're doing, you're probably going to screw it up. So...
Yeah, can we get people can they stop deconstructing everything and give us legitimate entertainment? You're not all geniuses, okay? You're not all Alan Moore. Can you just figure out how these things are constructed first, and then start deconstructing them? It's like the critique that one guy critiqued Ryan Johnson for. He's trying to deconstruct Star Wars, but he made the mistake of not knowing how Star Wars was built in the first place. That's basically where his big misstep is. He thinks he knows what it's built up of, but obviously he doesn't.
I think like they're all trying to be either the next Alan Moore or the next George R.R. Martin. Like I feel like Game of Thrones has kind of ruined pop culture in a sense. Like, oh, people like it when we kill off main characters. Okay, all right. Well, we'll kill off David Dunn from Unbreakable. We'll kill off Luke Skywalker and from Star Wars. We're gonna kill off Joel from The Last of Us, and yeah, like it's just this ongoing. We'll kill off John Connor in the next Terminator movie, for the third time.
This is obsessed with subverting expectations, because exceeding expectations is a lot harder to do. It takes work. They can't really do work.
Yeah, because like a subversion of expectations, it tends to be like it's either a plot twist or it's an anticlimax. You know what I mean? So the ending of The Sixth Sense sort of subverts your expectations because you didn't realize that Bruce Willis was dead the whole time until the ending. And but what's great about it though is beyond the surprise, there is actually like a bit of catharsis to it, because it provides closure for Bruce Willis, and then he realizes, oh, my wife doesn't hate me, she still loves me. She just she's depressed because she misses me because I'm dead. It's like it's a really satisfying reveal and payoff, even after the initial shock of twist wears off.
All right, let's keep going.
But we're all bad guys because we don't like this game. We don't like the way the story has been laid out for us.
Here's 2 super chats, and we'll keep on going. Tickleson, thank you, sir. Smudboy, I'd love to see a female villain. Sorry, Phasma guessed that's the price of not having a character. Well, Phasma's like a sub-boss. I don't think she's much of a villain to begin with. She's just sort of off to the side, and she gets involved here and there. And oh, she's the one to cause the shields to come down, and oh, she's the one to face off with Finn, and then that's that. So
she was the one with really cool armor, and that's kind of the extent of her character.
She has cool armor.
I think they're trying to build another Boba Fett, but like a female one.
Oh, maybe.
Didn't really work out that well.
Possibly.
I had an idea in my books to like subvert expectations, like because I went through a phase of thinking, ooh, subverting expectations, this might be interesting. I want to make my story as original and shocking and surprising and unpredictable as possible. And so I thought, what if in my last book the antagonist, instead of being like able to confront the protagonist, after this series of incidents that with rising conflict and tension and everything, what if the antagonist gets struck by a drunk driver and killed, and it's just like oh, he just dies like a regular person does. And I thought, yeah, that's unpredictable, but there's also like no setup for that needed, and it makes all of the work that goes into the buildup of tension like pointless. You're just wasting the reader's time there. And so I realized, you know what? That's a bad idea. That would be like, even if it's plausible that it could happen, it doesn't make for a good story.
There's an interesting idea. This is a rule I haven't thought of. I've created 6 rules for writing, but don't waste my time. And that's sort of after the fact. You write something, you go, wait a second, how long did this take? How long is this pacing? Does this even work? And you actually have to experience the writing first to then say whether you wasted the actual author's time who wrote the thing. Oh, this is horrible. So it's a fun thing to think about after the fact. I don't know if that's a practical rule though. So,
I've heard that rule before. There's a guy who made a list of rules for writing, and I forget there like maybe 5 of them. And then the last rule is the only one that really matters is the first rule, and that is do not write a story in which a stranger does not feel the time has been wasted.
There's you guys ever watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with Steve Martin and John Candy?
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a fantastic movie. I like it.
Okay, that scene where Steve Martin is like, "Here's an idea. Have a point. It makes the story so much more interesting for the listener." It's like that's it. That is it. That's like that is writing advice number 1. That's tip number 1 for writing when you're telling a story.
The Last of Us 2 doesn't really have a point.
Exactly. It doesn't
Revenge
have a
is bad.
point.
Kind of knew revenge was bad already. No one looked at what Joel was doing in the end of Last of Us Part 1 as if it was a 100% good thing.
Right. It's a very meandering way of telling you that, oh yeah, killing is bad and revenge is empty, but
Like if you just assume Joel had a heart attack and Ellie lost 2 fingers after The Last of Us Part 1, that's about where we at.
I mean,
just watch Afro Samurai. It's the same message, but way more entertaining.
there's also like why couldn't it be like a Pyrrhic victory where she does get her revenge, but it's like not even worth it. But there's that. Now the other thing is like there's a movie that I think it's decent. It's got Kevin Bacon in it. It's called Death Sentence. Have you guys ever seen it?
no.
No.
No, I don't think so.
It's actually an adaptation of Death Wish. of
Oh,
all
boy.
things. It's based off of a book that was written. Well, it was a sequel to Death Wish. Actually, Death Sentence is the book sequel to Death Wish. And the guy that wrote Death Wish, Brian Garfield, hated the Charles Bronson movies. And so because they glorified vigilantism in a way that he didn't intend with his book. So Death Sentence comes along in 2007 and actually shows like how horrifying the cycle of revenge is and how like it's not worth it for Kevin Bacon to pursue revenge, and it's totally self-destructive, and it's pretty gory and violent, and it's not like groundbreaking fiction, but it's actually a really good adaptation of Death Wish that gets the exact same point across, but it's done in a way where it feels like there was a point to this. Even if it's a Pyrrhic victory, even if the ending is kind of a downer, there was a point here because there's still the money shot. Like it's a revenge story that still has the money shot.
Right.
You know?
Right. And have you ever heard of Mickey Spillane? Right. Very very prominent pulp author.
Okay.
And he came under criticism because he was very prominent. He was I think he was the best-selling author in the world at one point, at least in America.
Mm-hmm.
And he's being criticized by the literati, the people who want to write literary fiction on stuff. They called him a hack. They called him all kinds of names because he wrote formulaic writing, formulaic novels. So at one point, he stops counting his piles and piles of money and says something like. One of his quotes is, "Those big shot writers could never dig the fact that there are more salted peanuts consumed than caviar." And basically what that means is, you can look down on all this fiction. You can look down on formulaic movies and books and whatever it is. You can look down on things that use tropes and do the same things that we've seen a million times before. Just, something new, new way or just new characters. The never-ending story, the hero with 1,000 faces. But at the end of the day, people want that stuff. They're going to consume it. They're going to still consume it by the truckload. And you can be as brilliant as you want to be. You can be as smart as you want to be. You can be as new and fresh and original as you want to be. But the thing is, some people might buy it. Some people might eat it. Not everyone is. Maybe even very few people will. Because people want the consumable. People want the formulaic stuff, the tropes, the easily recognizable entities they see in stories. So when Mickey Spillane said those big shot writers, he's mentioning the people who want. He's basically talking about people like Ryan Johnson and Druckmann, people who said that the only who seemed to say or seemed to push forth the fact that the subversion of expectations, the breakdowns, these big brained projects they like to work on are the only ones worth it, and everything else has been is beneath them. When really it isn't. And at the end of the day, well, people are going to flock to the easily consumed peanuts rather than the the caviar.
All right, one more super chat, and we keep on going. Sir Skeleton, thank you, sir. Yo, Smud just got here. What did Xander Chan do? So far, not much. He hasn't been crazy yet. He's just sort of announcing what he's heard. He's kind of weird about the comments of YouTube, which I don't know if he's ever been on YouTube before. The comment section has always been rather wild. People say crazy things all the time. I've got so many comments. I'm sure many of us who have channels are aware of all the crazy spams and crazy things people say. So,
Want to be friends?
Oh, God. That's the least of the problems. Yeah.
You've been getting that one, and that's the one you don't respond to. They can take off your channel if you respond to that one.
But yeah, people say crazy things on YouTube. That's about all we've had so far from Xander.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of things to criticize Naughty Dog for with The Last of Us 2. Plenty of things. Most notable, at the top of my head, overworking during crunch time, the samey gameplay, it's always the third person
God,
over
I
the
hate
shoulder
gamers.
survival, adventure, horror games that are always on console, It's pretty samey.
That's the
There's plenty of
criticism,
things.
the over-the-shoulder
it's
shot.
exclusive. It's console exclusive, so very anti-consumer. There's that.
It's not anti-consumer. What the? It's.
A communist is going to tell me what's anti-consumer.
Video game exclusives are anti-consumer. Since when?
No. Anti-consumer is when you criticize or mute or call anyone who criticizes your work man babies.
Yeah, that would be anti-consumer. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the shittiest level of customer service imaginable.
Ignoring the criticisms your customers have, labeling them as like bigots or man babies, or just completely removing them off social media.
If someone is going to tell me that they have a story in mind where literally every character is a transgender, disabled, one-armed, autistic, Muslim dwarf, okay, but they are nice when people say that sounds weird, but okay, they're not saying you're just a bigot. Like if they're chill, it's like, oh, more power to you, friend. like you're not hurting anyone and making your little story. Yeah, go ahead, make your story. Let's gonna pander to like one person in the entire planet, but go for it. Okay.
It's a silly thing to say that if I'm a developer and I want to release a game on a certain platform, only on that one platform for whatever reason, suddenly I'm anti-consumer. It's just the most bizarre thing. Then if you're Nintendo and you have exclusive titles to Nintendo, like Mario or Metroid, I only want to release on my platform because I don't know, it's my platform. I want to do whatever I want with it. I'm anti-consumer. I don't what are you talking about?
The strategy, the exclusive title strategy, is only anti-consumer in the eyes of a communist that believes that every title should be for everything, for every platform, so that it belongs ultimately to the people. No, that's business. Okay, if something's popular, and you're a powerful, popular platform, it's in your best interest to get something and make it exclusive. HBO does it all the time.
I just can't grasp this silly argument. But okay, anyway, that's the first thing he says, which is ridiculous. Let's.
What's his problem with the over-the-shoulder third person? People love that stuff. People love that stuff.
I don't know. Whatever.
That's my favorite kind of game.
Maybe it wasn't made for you, Xander. Have you ever thought about that?
Perhaps we should zoom out to 50% more, so our character is like a small dot on the screen. That would be better, would it? That would be less generic. Maybe every game goes with the over-the-shoulder third-person camera thing because it fucking works.
Look, listen. There are some criticisms to be made of the Super Mario Brothers series. Okay, like there are these 2D platformers where you're like moving from one side of the screen to the other. They're all kind of the same.
I played Hollow Knight exactly. So fucking Mario's ripping off Hollow Knight. Okay. God, could you imagine if I ever made that argument in real life?
I feel like it's only just a part of the genre that it's trying to be.
I'm
what,
tired of
what
all
is
these
this
2D
argument?
Tired of all these 2D platformers having a 2D camera shot.
Over-the-shoulder TPS is garbage design. If that's not sarcasm, can you possibly elaborate on that?
Let's just keep on going.
So yeah, there is plenty size Naughty Dog for with The Last of Us 2, but none of those things are this. Now, why do I think gamers are? But like, it's not worth it just to talk about how people are reacting.
Again,
I want to talk about why are these gamer bros reacting to this drama, to these leaks.
He's not shown us
in the
evidence
way
of
that they are.
anyone saying this. He's not shown us
PC
evidence, which is
exclusive
weird because he
anti-consumer?
showed
Yeah, just
evidence
as much
of
as
how Abby looks.
Gamer bros aren't playing this game, man. Okay. It's
No,
not
no,
a gamer bro game.
but it's weird because he's talking about these people as if they exist. He's looking at his computer as if he's looking at something. So he clearly has something he's reading from, or he's looking at what people have said, but he's not showing anyone.
Yeah.
Which is weird because he decided to Google what Abby looked like for people who were fucking confused over the last year and a bit.
Can't bring up evidence. That'll be too much. It'll be too much work.
I also feel the need to drop a bit of an uncomfortable red pill, one that he would find uncomfortable at least, Xander. Naughty Dog has a very big audience overseas in several countries that may be a little less tolerant towards LGBT people than America.
Oh yeah, outside America and
like
it gets worse. Okay,
Chinese
America is not the most bigoted country in the world, believe it or not.
Like, I've played enough Uncharted multiplayer to know that like most of the people that play Naughty Dog's games are not American. Like their games appeal hugely to Mexicans, to Saudi Arabians. It's crazy, especially given you would think that with all that the SJW say about how all their games have a white guy, Nathan Drake or Joel running around and shooting non-white people. Well, I mean, it's still somehow appealing to several people in foreign countries where the majority skin color is not white. Interesting, very interesting, and then it's so interesting that they're talking about a lot of bigots that don't want to play a game with a girl in it. I really wonder if those bigots are coming from America, because I would put money on it that like the vast majority of them are coming from places like Saudi Arabia and Brazil.
Okay.
I would have to agree. Yeah, that's probably the case. Because believe it or not, for leftists, okay, America is not the most bigoted country in the world.
Really isn't.
It actually isn't. It's actually It's actually very tolerant. Okay, very tolerant.
So here's a super chat again from Dickelson. Thank you, sir. Who needs to show evidence when you can show feelings? Well, he actually made a point, a silly point, but I want to see where he goes with this, because it seems as if he's getting onto something. Like he's answering a question from the comment section there, saying, question, is PC exclusive anti-consumer? And you're like, oh boy. Let's see.
As much as any other consumer. Although PC is more broadly available, I think, so maybe not quite consumer as console exclusives are. Regardless, why are these I'm really interested in the psychology of these gamer bros that are so mad about
Who don't exist. Thank you. Okay.
this, right? And I want to talk about it because I have a theory. Pardon armchair psychology on the broader gaming community, but I think it'd actually be very interesting. So,
I don't think this is the broader gaming community. I think that The Last of Us 2 appeals to a niche audience. I don't think it appeals to like the overwhelming amount of gamers who want to play like their Call of Duty or whatever. It's not gamer bros. It's people who want a more narratively driven story. It's not something you drink beer with your buddy with and play. Okay?
Also, I'm not trying to imply that that most or all of the hate is coming from actual homophobia. I'm just saying that I'm pretty sure that the virulent homophobes that are playing Naughty Dog's games, and are reacting negatively to Ellie being gay or whatever, I'm pretty sure that they're not, like, most of them are not from America. I'm not saying that most of the criticism is about Ellie being gay. trying to clarify here. I'm not saying that you're all bigots. That's not what I'm saying. Please do not put words in my mouth. I'm not a Naughty Dog employee, okay? I'm a chill
Too late to go back now, Southpaw.
Oh, no.
Yeah, don't shove words in people's mouth. Okay, that's
honestly,
rude.
I think, yeah, don't put words in people's mouths. Put corporate cock in people's mouths. No, I honestly think that the appeal to The Last of Us was never really the gameplay. The graphics were nice. The gameplay was decent. I thought the whole selling point of the first game was the characterization, was the writing for characters. The story was okay. It was more sort of... I always saw it as like it was one of those generic games, but it was like a leap forward in technology with motion capture and what have you. In the same way that Rise was a leap forward for the actual graphic design, for the actual animation and art style for a game.
Yeah, it looked really good. It looked really good.
And the story just turned out really good for The Last of Us, because that was what they were focusing on, was a narrative, as you said, a narrative movie.
Yeah, they were trying to make
But now that narrative movie has a shitty narrative.
And yeah, that's where it fell apart. They were trying in the first Last of Us. They were trying to make like this movie version of a game. Was trying to make that like close to an Oscar-winning awarded game as possible. And here they're just trying to be political activists. That seems to be the case.
Fellas, it's not gay to just like try to pretend that it's not canon, right? Like it was not canon like just a week ago, right? So like it's been not canon once before. It can like still be not canon, at least in my head. Like is that a pathetic thing to do? Because like isn't that what a lot of people try to do with like the sequel trilogy, for instance? Like they just want to pretend that those films don't really exist, like in continuity.
Yeah, it's a fan headcanon sort of thing.
Yeah, I can see it. It's like, well, the people that own the IP say it's canon, but the writing just looks like it's such shitty fan fiction that I can't really accept that this is even consistent at all with what came before.
All right, let's keep going.
Pretty reactionary on a base level, broadly speaking.
Okay, so gamer bros are reactionaries. Okay.
Everyone's reactionary. Everyone's reactionary. Everyone's on the wrong side of history. Here we go. I think this is where we're going to start getting insane or something.
This is political, psychological bullshit. I've never let's just combine all of our ideas together.
These hypothetical gamer bros who are allegedly playing The Last of Us.
Any pushback to this insanity that is like being pushed about the importance of identity politics and how we have to have really ham-fisted dialogue that talks about bigotry and social issues and stuff in all of our media. Any pushback to that sort of stuff, that's reactionaries,
Yeah, it's all reactionary. So yeah, I can't wait to go to the next meeting where we all watch the people who love Arnold Schwarzenegger 80s movies, action movies, with all the explosions and Commando and Terminator. I can't wait for those same people to voluntarily get together and watch Amelie or something.
I can't wait for like all the people that have seen John Wick 3 to catch up and realize that the adjudicator is played by a non-binary person and then get outraged. That's totally going to happen.
Canonically, she's non-binary. Like in the movie too, she's non-binary.
Yeah. Like we don't give a shit. Like we really don't give a shit about this stuff. Just like,
and nobody cared.
don't make a big deal out of it. Don't suck your own dick about it. It's fine. We don't like. I just want a good story. Like your gender identity bullshit, what pronouns you use, that's not the story. I don't care about that story. You know what? If you want to tell that story, that's fine. There are like there's like an LGBT genre like on Netflix that focus entirely on that stuff. And you know what? That's fine. They've got art that panders to them in that way. As long as it's not going into my Star Wars and my Last of Us and all this other stuff, like the stuff that I really care about, the mainstream stuff, but that's fine. You can have that art that talks about like those things, but I don't care for that art. I care for Last of Us. I care for Star Wars. I care for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not a good story, a good character.
Have you seen The Dragon Prince?
Dragon
They have-
Prince, no.
on Netflix. It's a new series. I think it's made by some people who made Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think that's what I heard anyway. But there's a character in there that she's a big, strong, powerful, independent woman. She's in command. She's mute. She can't speak, so she has to use sign language. It was a cool character trait because they didn't rub it in your face. It's not like they came out and said, "Oh, look how strong and powerful she is," because they point out her disability or whatever. She was just a strong, awesome character. That's it. That's all she was. And she had flaws. She had her, really excellent characterization. They didn't rub it in your face, okay? And the king is a king of color. Didn't rub it in your face, so nobody cared. It's okay, fine, awesome. The problem comes in when they're trying to politicize it and propagandize these things. Where they say, "Oh, look at this! Isn't this awesome?" Yeah, but where's the plot and the story? Who cares? Look at this! Isn't this awesome? That's kind of where it comes in, and we don't really.
What's the point of the story? Don't care. Look how gay these people are.
Exactly, just like how everyone who tries to defend She-Ra, the She-Ra cartoon, doesn't talk about the plot or the character. They all say, "Look how diverse and inclusive it is." Like, I don't care.
The first ever lesbian kiss in a cartoon, but as it turns out, not really.
Yeah, not really at all.
Or it just, again, we go back to that Steve Martin in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles quote, "Have a point." Like, that's just give the character a point. Have them do something that's important to the story, or they have some type of important role, okay? Like, most characters are going to play some level of an important role in the story, and they're not just going to, like, just be there, and then we're wasting time watching them, fuck about doing their own private life shit that's really irrelevant to what we're really interested in seeing. There was so many pointless subplots in 24, for instance. Jack Bauer's daughter with the mountain lion.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying
it's a trope. Actually, it's called mountain lion.
Exactly, and the thing is like that's I'm not sure if that's a forced diversity thing. It's a pointless subplot that's taking away from the plot that we actually care about. And so that if you're having a character doing that like at all, that's annoying. But then when it turns out, oh, they're doing this with this character, they have this character in here wasting our time so they can tick off a box for their like diversity intersectional checklist bullshit. It's like, oh, that's fucking great. Like, that's what forced diversity is to me. Like, the character would not exist if they weren't taking off a box and like they're purposeless and they are there just to take off a box, and that's it.
Exactly. It's like you said. It's they need to have a point, but in the eyes of a NPC or SJW writer, existing is the point. Like, they're just going to have these characters in there just to exist, just so they can check off a box. And to them, that is an acceptable role for them to have, an acceptable point. Where in the Dragon Prince, the character I talked about, where she's mute and everything, she has a purpose in the story. It's far beyond her just existing as a character with a disability. The king, he's a king of color, but he exists in the story for reasons far beyond his skin color. Okay, he actually is an integral part of the initial plot. They're all very important characters. They'll have a place within the story. They'll have a point. If they're written by an SJW character, SJW creator, their mere existence would be the point instead.
Yeah, and then there's also just like the really pathetic attempts to do LGBT representation. Like J.K. Rowling doesn't mention anything about Dumbledore's sexuality, and then after killing him off, she's like, "Oh, by the way, Dumbledore is gay." Like, wow, yeah, it really shows in your writing. It's like it's an attempt to get the woke brownie points, but without actually like writing the representation in.
It was just really subtle, I guess. Really, really subtle.
Yeah.
Fucking insanely
The
subtle.
description of his armoire, you could look inside and you see all the colorful shirts and chamois. You're like, yeah, those are really gay shirts there, Rowling. Sure.
We never got to see into Dumbledore's closet where he had like a bunch of open shirts and stuff.
The Phoenix in his office was a metaphor. Emergence into gayness.
Because he's flaming.
Yeah, he was a flaming phoenix.
Yeah.
Rising again in a new life.
Rising again, gayer than ever.
All right, here's a super chat from Joe Crazy. Thank you, Joe Crazy. Do you think there is someone more intellectually dishonest than Vosh? Wow, I don't know. Vosh is on a whole other level.
Where he like, oh,
That's why I
that,
call him the human centipede. The bear troopers are human centipede. They copy each other, but the next one is worse than the last one. It's like a carbon copy, and they all say the same thing. It's like so they're all just eating the crap that's coming out of the other one, and it's pooping it out to the next mouth.
This guy isn't even trying to fairly tackle an opposing opinion. I don't know what he's doing. He's just inventing a boogeyman, and he's targeting it. And you're like, gamer bros are also reactionaries who don't like...
Create. It's what happens every single time. Create an invisible enemy.
we're not even like really halfway into the video. I wonder what his overarching point is.
It's psychology. He wants to understand the psychology of the imaginary gamer bro. It's like, all right.
The gamer bros that play The Last of Us.
Apparently.
Talking about like your average straight white male. I mean, this is statistically a pretty significant amount of the gaming community. At least the most vocal.
Can you quote the stats there, buddy? Straight white males playing games? Okay, where'd you get those numbers?
I mean, I have a friend, another friend, who is a very liberal woman. Not the gay one. This one's straight, and she absolutely hates what they're doing with the story here. And so, like, whenever I'm seeing someone trying to blame it all on white men or calling us incels or whatever, I'm like, all right, welcome to welcome to the welcome to Gamergate, Kristen. Well, how do you do, fellow incel?
Okay, I want to see. He's just listed a whole bunch of. They're white. They're straight. They're male. They're gamer bros. They're reactionary. It's like, wow. Where'd you get your stats there, Xander? Statistically speaking, it's like, okay, yeah, sure.
Part of the gaming community on the internet, and even if you aren't one of those things, you'd usually fall in line with most of them, right? You may
yeah. Well, you may not be white, but maybe you're partially white. And you may not be male, but you're partially male. You could one of those things. Like, okay, yeah.
not be white, but you'll usually be like straight and male. You may not be male, but you'll usually be straight and white. You may not be straight, but you'll usually be male and white.
You'll normally be a combination of different things. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Xander. That's amazing. You might not be male. You could be female. You might not be white. You could be white. It's like, what are you talking about? Where are you going?
People exist. People exist, Xander. Yes.
And if you're not white, you're definitely straight and male.
Unless you're the kind of person that could qualify to be on the Chaz Conflict Resolution Advisory Council, you can fuck off.
I can't believe having an argument like this. Well, you might not be male. You might not be white, but mostly male, mostly white. Oh, really? Oh.
You might be a straight male.
Or
lead to you having
might not
a higher likelihood of being a bit reactionary.
What are you talking about? Where are you getting the stats for this? Is there a stat for reactionary?
Xander, you're a reactionary. Okay, you're reactionary. You're full-blown bigot reactionary. How's that? Okay, take that. See how easy it is?
Understandably so, because I was in this position once. I mean, for you, politics doesn't really...
Look at the comment. Less straight white males. What the hell?
What do you mean by he was in the position once? Is Xander yet another guy who's gone from one extreme to the next? What is this with this pattern here? That's true.
What did he say? If you're not straight, you're probably male and white. If you're not male, you're probably white. If you're not white, you're probably straight and...
I have a theory, and it's probably a very dumb one. It probably doesn't resonate with anyone in the world, but hear me out here. Maybe straight white men tend to be more reactionary because there is this ongoing movement amongst the left to demonize straight white men and to say that their perspectives are invalid or they carry less weight than someone that's not straight or white or male. Maybe there's this ongoing trend in the Democratic Party and the left wing in general that they are shifting towards identity politics, and that is like constantly attacking white men, straight white men, and like even when like you are generally a very kind and respectful person to everyone from all walks of life, you have any kind of opinion that breaks away from the party line, you are going to get labeled as toxic. You're a bigot. It's like a religion. You're like just people shaming you for being a sinner because you stepped out of line in their perspective.
I still don't know what he means by reactionary, though. He keeps using the term. I don't think he knows what he's talking about anymore. It's just this.
I think it just means people we don't like. People just don't.
I guess.
That guy who picked on me in high school, he's a reactionary or whatever. The guy who messed up my mocha latte, he's a reactionary. I don't like him anymore.
He's now a gamer bro. And whatever that means. They like third-person shooters. Like, okay.
You all that much, at least not as what you're aware, right? Like you weren't affected by lack of representation in games, so when you hear people making a big deal about being represented in games, you get annoyed by it because you're like, oh, I don't feel unrepresented. I don't feel like I need to. The character I'm playing as needs.
No, we really don't care. We really don't care.
Yeah, because no game ever in the history of gaming has ever featured a protagonist that isn't white
or straight.
Yeah, they've all been straight white. 100% of game protagonists have been straight white men. Okay, I guess Xander isn't a gamer, because if he were, that would be so embarrassing to say.
Yeah, because gamer bros or gamer girls or whatever don't play Mass Effect or any of the BioWare games. You could choose your own gender. You could choose your own sexuality. No, just can't do that.
When you play as a bug in Hollow Knight, you're actually playing as a straight white male.
Yeah. So we feel inclusive. We're included in that demographic. our arachnid versions.
You play Dark Souls. I guess you're a straight white corpse or something.
Here's a super chat from Mark in 3D. Is he the son of Vosh? His IQ is conversion to 0. He's kind of like a mini Vosh.
I think they replicate like sponges, dude. Is breed off each other.
No, you can't, because apparently SpongeBob is gay now.
I'm sure that they reproduce asexually. They have to. Like, how else would they be able to reproduce?
I don't know, man.
I'm pretty sure Xander just butted off of Vosh one day and just became his own YouTube channel.
Like me, in order for me to enjoy it, you guys, like, and I'm speaking directly to these people here.
Sure you are.
You don't really feel that way, and so it's hard. You're more likely to lean more reactionary on.
You mean no one?
Issues. But
what does it mean to?
I gotta call bullshit on that, because gamers absolutely do want to play as people that look like them.
No.
I'll explain why. Who here is familiar with...
Yeah, because everyone identifies as an Italian plumber jumping up on mushrooms and going down pipes and growing wings.
Come on, Smudcast. Who ever played Mario before? Come on. Only Italian plumbers ever played Mario.
Yeah, only I could play it, guys. There's no one else can play it. I can only identify as a plumber who grows twice the size when he eats mushrooms.
I remember how only blue hedgehogs played Sonic.
I was gonna make a similar joke.
I
was gonna say I wish I could play Sonic. Sorry, I wish I could play Mario, but I'm a blue super fast hedgehog, so all I can do is play Sonic.
Yeah, if only they made more games that were inclusive to the blue hedgehogs we have in society. Okay, their lives matter. Okay?
I identify as a taxi car.
This is disregarding anyone who might like play a game that is create your own character. So I tend to play as I play a lot of Monster Hunter, and I tend to make my characters women because the outfits just look better. A lot of the male armors in Monster Hunter World are fucking shit. So I play as a woman because I want to look good when I'm killing shit.
Also,
and then using the shit off them to kill more things.
Exactly. Remember when everyone who ever played Skyrim only played a human?
Yep.
Yeah, that's all we
No,
had.
no orcs. Unless
I
you're
never
black.
played a
of
cat.
course.
No one played anything other than human.
No, black people played as orcs. Remember?
Oh yeah, that's right.
when I play Ace Combat, I identify as an F-16 fighting Falcon. That's
Yeah.
Create character
I
Skyrim, so it could be
I definitely never played Infamous Second Son, which has you playing a Native American man, or Infamous First Light, which has you're playing a woman.
And
I've never played those
nobody
games.
played Assassin's Creed 3, right? The one where you get to play as an American Indian.
Oh, you're right. That's the one Assassin's Creed game that I have played.
I never played
No, you
Assassin's
didn't.
Creed.
You didn't because he didn't look like you. So obviously you didn't. Also, no one played the first Assassin's Creed, right?
Okay, I identify as a Native American man.
No straight white man ever played. No straight white man ever played Origins, where you play as a black Egyptian.
No straight white man ever played the first Assassin's Creed. You know, where you play as an original Arabian assassin.
No straight white man ever played in the DLC for The Last of Us, where you play a lesbian 14-year-old girl.
I never played Chewbacca in the new Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Yeah, he doesn't look like you, right?
No, exactly.
That's why.
Oh, you made that point. Continue. Fucking stupid things.
Gamers want to play people who look like them. Oh, I'm not really a gamer, but off the top of our heads, we named several examples as to why that's a complete and utter lie.
I tend to play video games with characters that are far removed from me because I will never get to experience that.
Yeah, like I'm not fat, but I'm also not like built like Batman is, and I will play a Batman game, and I'm not feeling all offended. Batman makes me feel like, what's the word? Obsolete, or I feel small because of Batman. I feel inadequate. I feel inadequate because I'm playing Batman, and it's an unrealistic standard for human physique and everything.
And if you did feel that way, it was more like a you problem than the Batman game problem.
Yeah, exactly. Although they would say that doesn't count because Batman's a white male. You see, his physique has nothing to do with you want to play someone that looks like you. It all has to do with skin color and your sex.
Also, remember all those straight white men who never ever played Grand Theft Auto San Andreas?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
obviously.
Grand Theft Auto 5, where one of the playable protagonists is a black man.
Yeah,
He's
I guess I only played like 2/3 of that game.
Yeah, you're just switching between the two angry white men.
We could do this for a long time, Xander. Okay.
We could do this forever.
Remember how we finally got line representation in Pong? Now that is true progressivism. Thanks.
No, SpongeBob. No one ever played Pong because they didn't have any characters that look like us, right?
My rectangle is not white enough, damn it.
And you need a wider rectangle. How high are you, Xander?
The Tetris blocks don't resemble straight white men enough for me to be able to play it.
I think huffing your own farts for so long, Xander, has rotted your brain.
Okay, let's see what other gems he has for us.
Concept called the datification of games.
What?
IFICATION.
What?
Datification. Any hypers in chat for people who know what that is?
Please tell us.
Hell yeah.
Well,
Okay.
explain it to
Some
us.
of you guys know. Many of you do not. Good.
They
The
make up
datification
new
of games
words
is a
constantly.
tendency for usually male writers to write a older, grizzled male character who has a very sketchy past and try to redeem them by having them take care of a child.
What the hell are you talking? This is
What
not
are
a
you
thing.
talking about? What male? Hey, newsflash! Did you know that male writers tend to write male characters?
It's not
Holy-
just male writers. It's male writers in gaming. It's like, oh, those kinds of writers. Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, father figure, pairing him with a child, it's been done before. Have you read? No, I'm pretty sure Sanders doesn't read, but like, I'm pretty sure anything is not the Karl Marx Manifesto. But have you ever read Lone Wolf and Cub? There's a reason why that's become so popular. The reason why that has lived out the test of time. Okay, there's a lot of things in there that are very interesting, and he's paired up with the kid. Not as a redemption cycle, but right from the get go. But yeah, male writers tend to write male characters. Who knew that? And who knew that they would eventually want their the male character that has been through a lot of stuff, to have a redemption cycle through fatherhood?
I just can't believe this argument. It's like, oh, male writers write about being fathers. It's like, well, it's kind of an important part of people's lives, being a parent, and they happen to be male. They happen to have the role of male, and they do all the things a male would do. It's like, yeah, well, they'd be able to write about it, I guess. I mean, Amy Hennig had no problem talking about a male lead in her games. She was a woman. She had no problems.
My God.
Usually a young girl in a post-apocalyptic or some.
Oh my God, are you serious? This guy's quoting genre. So not only is there this thing called datification, it's only for certain male authors in video games, and they have to write post-apocalyptic genres.
Apparently, that is datification. The datification, according to him, is the tendency for male writers in video games to write older, grizzled, awesome male characters who are taking care of a kid, usually a daughter, in a post-apocalyptic world.
Give me an example, aside from The Last of Us, please. Please.
I can only think of one. And
God of War, that one God of War game where he's taking care of a son.
Yeah, that's his own son. So the one I was thinking of was Telltale's Walking Dead, the first season.
Right, same genre.
The good one.
But that can't be a name. I've never heard of this datification. What's...
Well, it's more of a cliche thing. You have a chiseled guy who has to seek redemption through looking after a young, impressionable child.
What's wrong with that, though? I like that story. I love that story.
You build character for the child, and you redeem the old man with the troubled past.
Exactly. Also,
this wouldn't work if you had a troubled female and they had to look after a little girl or a little boy. It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah, you can do it just as easy with the other way around.
It's the grizzled, traumatically scarred adult looking after the young, impressionable kid in a world that could get them killed. It's how it works. It's
very primal. It's very human, because believe it or not, some humans go on to become parents through biological drive. It actually is a thing that most of us are interested in. A good amount of us tend to find appealing. The old grizzled veteran or the old grizzled adult taking care of a vulnerable child. It gives you drama. It gives you challenge. And I mean, it's more challenging than having just like, imagine if you paired up John Wick with a kid or something. I guess then it would kind of just be Lone Wolf and Cub, wouldn't it? But modern setting. But imagine if you put John Wick with a kid. It would give him a larger vulnerability. It would he would be forced to take care of this kid. He would be all this. I mean, the Mandalorian. People love this stuff. Women love this story. I remember hearing a lot of women chime in on The Mandalorian, how much they love it. Believe it or not, The Mandalorian has a quite sizable female audience. And I don't think Pedro Pascal looks like a lot of women. He's pretty manly looking, especially with the mustache.
Well, we could make the same argument for romance writers, right? They're mostly women. The same with Harlequin romance. They're mostly women. Is that like the womanization of romance? No, that's just what they end up writing a lot of. It's not a pattern that has to have a name. It's just whoever writes these kinds of stories. It doesn't matter who. It's silly. Anyway, we can stop right here because this is getting stupid. I'm going to read some super chats. We're going to keep going for another minute or two. Hopefully he won't keep enlightening us with amazing terms he just invented.
Okay, oddly enough, Xander's fine if he talks like a normal human being, but the moment he goes into politics and stuff, the stuff he talks about, he goes insane. It goes really silly really fast.
Okay, Criminal Imagination. Thank you, sir. Just watched PewDiePie play this a little. Heard the main character says "bigot sandwich." There's not enough money you could pay me to play that. Well,
Yeah, me neither. I'm not going to play this game.
Surprised
Not
no
even.
one knows the word bigot, considering she didn't know what an ice cream truck was.
Yeah, she never went to the mall. Like she learned about civilization through magazines and stuff.
interesting. Here's Joe Crazy. Thank you, sir, again. Hey, you guys, have you ever heard of Italian plumberization? It is when an Italian plumber makes a game about traveling through pipes.
Whoa.
Especially a Japanese plumber at that, yeah. So,
Japanese.
Japanese Italian plumber.
Japanese Italian plumbers. very, very, very niche genre. Very niche genre.
diverse.
Not to mention that he jumps like a black man and grabs coins like a Jew.
Yeah. Okay, let's have another Xanderism. Let's keep going, guys.
Situation, right? The go-to examples of this, right off the top of my head, are Season 1 of Telltale's The Walking Dead.
Yep.
Okay, so you just mentioned that. There we go.
Season 1 Telltale's The Walking Dead. I don't know if you noticed this, though, Xander, but the main character's black.
Yep.
And so is Clementine. It's fantastic. But that's why I love that story, because he's taking care of a young and vulnerable child. It's, like I said, it's very popular story setting, very popular story genre. But the main characters are black.
I don't think Clementine is black. She's Hispanic or Asian.
Is she?
Yeah, she's not black.
No, she's some flavor of minority that they.
She's not white. She's not white. For sure.
She's definitely not white. But Lee, what's his name? Lee?
Everett,
Lee?
yeah. Lee Everett.
Yeah, he's definitely black. Not white.
He's the hella black.
You could say this of almost any story where there's an older person who's a teacher or an instructor or a guy or a guidance person helping out children. Like any story, any genre.
He's played by Dave Fennoy. You don't get a more blacker voice than that.
Also, so according to Xander, no white men, no white women played the Walking Dead season 1. No one, none of them.
I never played season 2 through. I never played season 2 through 4 because I'm not a small Hispanic child.
Exactly. So that's so no white man has ever played Walking Dead season 1 of Telltale games. Are you white, Xander? Did you play that game? Or did you just hear about it?
I can just think of other stories that have dystopian worlds, and like the Thunderhead book 2. I just because I like the Neil Shusterman, who is a black man, wrote a story about a immortal female who's a scythe who kills people. Her name's Scythe Curry, and she had a female charge she took care of, an under scythe. So this is not. This is so common. You can't possibly make this a male white writing video game trope. This is silly. Let's just keep going. This is so silly.
Logan, although that's a movie.
Logan?
Yeah.
Yeah, as Logan is pretty much that story. It's a grizzled old veteran takes care of a little girl. And I'm not sure it's post-apocalyptic or not. But it is more or less to them anyway.
It's not really post-apocalyptic. It's like the mutants have mostly been wiped out, but other than that, it's just a Western setting. That's all it is.
Oh, jeez.
It's obviously The Last of Us 1, God of War 4, or God of War 2018. Oh god, there's more off the to a degree. The Witcher 3, although not quite as much. With Ciri and Geralt.
That's a weak one.
Okay, but this time I'm at this point I'm pretty sure that this is a term someone else made up. Like another breadtuber or something made this up.
It has nothing to do with post-apocalyptic world. I don't know what he's talking about. The Witcher 3 and whatever.
God of War's not post-apocalyptic.
It's like the dedication of gaming almost sounds like it's just a it's like
term to make it sound worse, or a term to make it sound like a bad thing.
An insulting way to refer to a type of game genre where you're playing a paternal figure. Give me a break.
It's pretty much that.
There is a pattern to this because The Last of Us did it first, and it was really successful. So games be like, okay, why
That's
don't we
true.
follow that narrative? Because it worked well for this company.
Gamers were able to build a connection to Ellie, by like the idea of being her surrogate father, and then they also got a chance to play as her, and that was a pretty enjoyable section of the game.
Oh yeah, I love that section of the game. I like stealth games, and when Ellie was in my hands, I turned her into this. I turned the tables. You know that it reminded me of the the Rorschach moment, or you're locked in here with me, guys. Okay.
Yeah, it's like she's a lot more vulnerable than Joel is. Being small and not able to fight as well as he can. But she's still a badass, and she's like really good at sneaking around.
Oh,
and
no.
She's got her knife.
Oh no, I'm just hearing that datification of games is a Just Right video. Oh my god.
Oh,
no.
That's
Oh,
the next
okay.
one we're gonna
Okay. Now we know. Oh, why would you
Okay.
cite Just Right? Why? Why would you cite him as a source? Like, no wonder it is. No wonder this is the case. So it is just a term that is used that someone just made up to demonize a certain pattern in storytelling.
Most
Could you
people
say
do not
they
know
are
what
daddies?
datification is.
Smart boy.
Their daddies.
Is that where datification comes from? Is that what it actually turns out to
It
be?
was the crazy lady who called a load of people in films daddies, like
Oh
Darth Vader.
no, not Maggie May. Oh god.
Joel's a bad daddy.
It's a human centipede. It's a human centipede.
She made 2 videos. We only covered 1, and that was enough. We're like, oh my
It's like
god.
a fucking theme at this point.
It's a human centipede. It's the same crap being passed down to different mouths.
Oh god. He did The Witcher 3, The Last of Us, and the daddening of video games. Thanks, Just Right. Okay. Oh god. Okay, maybe we'll watch that, maybe not. Yeah.
Daddy.
Let's just keep going.
There's also The Mandalorian, but that's a little different.
Is
but
it?
you guys get what I'm getting at here.
Because
This
it
is a
seems
pretty
exactly
common
the same.
trope in
How?
video games now.
How?
Do I dislike this trope? Honestly, no. I like it. I think it's a cool trope as long as it's
Yeah,
not
there's nothing
too
wrong with it.
overdone.
Complaining
If it's done
about.
right, it's pretty damn good. I think The Last of Us 1 does it right.
Okay, good.
Then what's the problem here?
What are you
why
talking
even
about?
mention this?
Why
Why'd
bring
you bring
this
all
up?
these examples up and then be like, do I have a problem with any of this? No.
He,
So what's the
he
point?
went from gamers like to play characters that look like them, and I'll prove it. So here's a thing called datification of games.
Like if I was trying to say something to this effect, I'd probably be like, the type of games like Last of Us, where you're playing a character that's developing like a father-daughter bond or father-son bond. Like just list one example and then just jump straight to I like those kinds of games. Just do that. Don't waste so much time listing off endless examples.
Gamer bros are bad. Wait,
He didn't.
they're okay. It's like, why?
He didn't even mention all this. He went from the gamers. Here's a thing, chat. Okay, gamers like to play characters that look like them. I'll prove it. There's a thing called datification of games. It is a tendency for male writers in games to write a grizzled old man who takes care of a kid. A grizzled old man who I guess looks exactly like them or something. And then I'm going to list all these examples. And then do I dislike this trope? No. So how does this so-called datification of games prove that gamers like to play people who look like them?
We're not even halfway through this
We're
video.
gonna keep going, but if he keeps talking about this next 2 minutes, I'm gonna be done. This is kind of silly.
Right? I think season 1 of Telltale's The Walking Dead does it good. I think most of the examples that I brought up do it pretty damn well.
Okay.
However,
Okay.
we gotta talk about why so many male gamer bros really, really enjoy content with these themes.
Why don't you
What?
tell us why
So-
why don't you tell us why you thought they were done well, and
I think if it-
perhaps your opinions also correlate with theirs.
Did you forget we were talking about?
He said I actually really like some of these dadifications of games like The Last of Us and what have you, and so do these people. But these people are going to like it for wrong reasons that I'm not going to explain.
I wonder if he's going to like say something about how, because we've mentioned it before, it's weird that they're sexualizing Ellie, a character that we've known since she was like 14, and we know her at like through a surrogate parent relationship. It's like gamers will see Ellie as a daughter, and now she's being sexualized. It's weird. Kind of uncomfortable, a little creepy, actually.
It's sort of the same with the Arya Stark when you grow up watching the show. She starts off as like 12, and then you get to season 7, and she has a sex scene, and people are like, I don't know how I feel. It's kind of like watching the cousin you've been close to then make love to some randomer.
It's like it has a weird feeling of like almost like, was she being groomed like as the show was being filmed? You know, like were they just waiting for her to turn 18 so they could film a sex scene with her?
All right, let's hear his reason why it's wrong for the Gamer Bros to do it.
Let's talk specifically about The Last of Us 1. Joel is a straight, white, grizzled old man.
Yes.
Who is very down to earth and relatable for the person playing it.
Yes.
Chances
Sounds
are,
good so far.
if you're
Not
like
really.
a
I
white
haven't
guy,
lost my daughter.
which is the majority of gamers, you're gonna connect with Joel pretty strongly.
Maybe it's
White guys are majority of gamers, are they?
Wait,
Is that a fact?
Maybe people connect with Joel through the sympathetic story that he lost a loved one.
Yeah, the human story of losing a loved one. It's pretty human and universal.
And be like, oh man, he lost his daughter. Yeah, his life's kind of gone to shit. No wonder he's grizzled, tough, and distance away from it.
And remember,
He doesn't want to feel that loss again. I can sympathize with that because I am human too. It's got nothing to do with him being male.
most
It's
people
got
can.
it's got everything to do with bonding to him through this the vehicle of loss.
Also, is Xander? Did he forget the point that he's trying to make that all these gamers look like play games that have characters that look like them? I think he's trying to go back into it now. But if that's the case, then does that mean that only grizzled 50-year-old men played The Last of Us 2?
Yeah, let's actually look at the numbers. We have actual stats here, okay? The Last of Us, the first game, sold 20 million copies worldwide. It's one of the top 50 in the world. It's number 42 or 43, I think. Every
Apparently
one of those...
20 million 50-year-old grizzled men.
Every one of those were men, white men, straight white men, I don't know, whatever demographic.
50-plus grizzled old white men.
Of course, the response is, well, not all of them. It's just the majority. So like 51%, 50.1%. Like, what are you talking about, Xander? Like, where are you getting your numbers? And why does this matter? What is your point?
It has to be all of them.
It has to be 100%.
51 or 50-plus grizzled old gamer bros. That's who bought The Last of Us, according to Xander's assertion.
20 million units. It's like, yeah. They're all from North America.
I hate that comment. It's got nothing to do with... It's got everything to do with relating to him because he's straight, white, and male, and everyone who plays the game is straight, white, and male. It's got nothing to do with the actual character writing that we sympathize for him because, of the tough journey he has had as a character.
Or the fact that...
like, you know what? I'm human. I have empathy. I feel for this guy.
You can find drama in just the presentation alone because they use third-person camera. They have full talking heads. They have all sorts of camera angles. They have all sorts of nice music ensembles. It's
and obviously anyone who's lost a loved one or anyone who is a parent will obviously relate stronger because they can feel for that loss, or they don't want to lose their own child, or they know what it's like to lose a loved one, and they can relate on a stronger level. But even me, I've played the game. Even me, who's not, obviously I don't have a daughter. I've been fortunate enough to not lose that many people close to me, but I still go, this poor son of a bitch. I feel so bad for him. You know what? I'm going to be rooting for him this entire game.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't really empathize with Joel just because he's a straight white man, then I'm going to have a very difficult time being convinced that you have any empathy at all.
Could you imagine being that kind of individual? You go, oh man, he lost his daughter. Yeah, but he's straight, white, and male, so I don't feel for him. So fuck you if you
That sounds
exist.
like a bigotry to me. That sounds like a bigotry to me. It's
Could
just,
you imagine
hatred.
if I said that the other way around? I say we're playing as Sam for the part 1. Or hell, Last of Us Part 2, we were playing as... what were the 2 black guys' names? Sam and... Southpaw, help me out here.
Sorry, what?
What was the black guy in the Last of Us Part 1?
You're talking
Sam.
about Henry, right?
Henry,
Henry's the adult, Sam's the little kid.
Yeah, could you imagine me saying that I don't feel for Henry because he lost his brother because he's black?
Exactly. Like I felt really bad for Henry in that scene, you know.
Right.
Like, I felt bad for Sam when like Henry was not letting him just bring a little toy in his backpack, which wouldn't have even taken much space. I imagine, like a little toy robot. Yeah.
Well, let's go for another minute. I don't think we're gonna get much more out of this video if this is how he's thinking.
Is it daddy kink? I don't think it has anything to do with daddy kink. I think a lot of gamers,
I don't want to
like
know what
ones
daddy
who are
kink
very
is.
invested in gaming, but like don't have any life outside of it, which are genuinely the ones, generally the ones that get mad about stuff like this. I think they all wish they were like a dad. I feel like they all.
All right, this is retarded. We're done.
What?
This is
What?
too stupid.
No,
Okay.
no. What?
I'm assuming that
Oh,
his
no.
like if we're not going to continue, I assume his argument would be that because we don't go outside very much, we're never going to experience fatherhood. So we're experiencing fatherhood vicariously through gaming. Is that?
I don't know.
But no. Look, this whole argument, this whole conclusion he just came to stem from the initial assertion that gamers only like to play characters who look like them. It's not vicarious. It's not a fantasy. It's, oh, this guy looks like me, so I'm going to play it. Oh, this guy doesn't look like me, therefore I'm not going to play it. That's what this conclusion came from. So what is this? A whole new argument that came from the original assertion.
Where's he
It's
rolling?
ridiculous.
What a strange thing to say. First, gamer bros are all, we like women as objects, we like action, we like blowing stuff up, and all of a sudden we come to the
Now we
conclusion we're
wanna
gamer bros because we want
fatherhood.
to be a daddy. Does that make any correlation between those 2 points?
We want
Can
to
Thank you yet
simply-
again, Xander, for lowering the bar another time, additional time.
We want to simulate the love that a parent has for their child. Holy shit.
We watched
what
Vaj,
a-
and you lowered the bar still.
What a horrible thing for us to want.
I want to be a dad. I want to care for a child that I love.
I thought he said we wanted, women with big tits and sex
Or
appeal.
something. I don't know. It changes on day to day. Whatever the coin flip is.
Can we at least see where this train of thought is going?
Into a wall.
I kind of, I am curious, especially because, like, okay, wait a minute, hold on, Xander. What if, I don't know, maybe you're a gamer who actually is a father who lost a kid. Maybe The Last of Us could actually help you overcome that kind of trauma. Maybe you're someone who lost a father, and now you get a chance to experience that, like maybe you're single or whatever, and I don't know. There's at least some type of, like, how not Civil War, sorry. So Homecoming makes it explicitly clear that, like, Iron Man, he says that he never really had much of a close relationship with his father, and now he's trying to take on like a father-son relationship with Peter and everything. Something like that, You lost a parent, now you get a chance to maybe, like, be a parental figure to someone.
And if that's his conclusion, bravo, gamer bros, if that's why you're doing it. You want to be a dad.
Wait.
Fantastic.
Raid Shadow Bug Spray, he's asking, want a spoiler? Do it. Tell us what this train of thought is leading us to.
But I mean, Xander said he likes that trope too. So what?
I guess I don't. What is he trying to say?
So where does it go?
Yes, I would like to be a dad someday.
When I like it, it's okay. But when you like it, it means you're a loser.
Okay, yeah. There's no point to this, guys. Come on, we're talking about Xander. This was good for the laughs, but now it's just sad. And there's no thought, there's no stats, there's no reference. He created a boogeyman. He's attacking it. Then he's saying it's okay. Then he's saying the boogeyman is actually nice because they want to be daddies. You're like, what are you talking about? What is going on?
You know, at least Vosh can put on a good show. Okay, at least Vosh can. He's a clown. He does all kinds of movements. He's very energetic and animated. Xander is a kind of just Vosh, but without the show. Okay, there's no showmanship here.
Yeah.
And occasionally you might see like a fucking mostly nude hut in the background come into the room in a Vosh stream. Now we also do have to go through a Forbes article, right, Smudboy? Are we?
You want to go through
that?
the article? It's actually not a bad article. It's pretty straightforward.
It's what? Hold on. You think that that point number 2 was actually decent? That point in number 2 was good.
Let's see here. Okay, so this is Paul Tassi. He's one of the better game talkers on Forbes. There's Paul Tassi and Eric Kane. Eric Kane's off the wall. I don't tend to listen to him, but Paul Tassi's pretty good. So let me just organize this. There we go. All right. Okay. So The Last of Us Part 2. What's the problem here exactly? So Paul Tassi is talking about why is everyone freaking out over the game. And he's talking about the user score being so high and so low. And he's observed these two things, which is fine. He's only played about halfway through the game, maybe a third through the game. So he knows what's going on here. So the first one is the death. And that's fine. That's, people don't like the death of a character they care about.
Yes.
So, not terribly surprising. I would say it's not terribly surprising either in a zombie survival horror story. It's how you do it that matters. So,
People wanted like a whole game of just that relationship because it worked so well, and there was plenty that was left uncovered, such as the Joel not telling Ellie the truth about what happened when they found the fireflies, and there's a lot of confrontation that can come from that and build it up slowly. Their relationship falls apart, then bring it back together again. But Joel lives for like an hour and then dies.
Here's the thing. Here's the key paragraph I wanted to read out. He says, I simply disagree with the notion that killing a character you like is automatically a bad story decision. I don't think that people are saying that. I think that we have an issue with the execution of it. And then he says, sure, sometimes stories can go too far with the idea, the absurd body counts in Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, etc. And yet here I think it absolutely works as a driving force for the story. So in terms of a driving force for the story, like, again, if it hadn't been done just for shock value, if maybe there was a noble sacrifice involved, if there was something that was fulfilling for Joel's character, it could work, and it could also still fuel a revenge story where at least Ellie maybe gets a Pyrrhic victory and she, commits to getting her revenge. But then again, this is a guy who he hasn't played through the whole story yet. He's played through half of it. He doesn't understand the full context of like what Joel's death ultimately achieves for the story. He says, and it's not like Joel isn't in the game. He's in it for the first part, and then we constantly get flashback sequences with Joel and Ellie that are some of the best moments of the game so far. So yeah, the thing is that those are flashbacks. It would have been nice to actually see more of Joel and Ellie, like when Ellie is 19 as an adult, see how their relationship grows from there. But no, we're stuck in the past now. We're not going to. There isn't really any room for development here left. We've seen how his story ends, and there's just there's nothing else to really explore there. So that's my issue with point 1, and then we get to especially like his whole idea of, it's not like Joel isn't in the game. Like, he is in so much less of the game than people would have liked.
To the point that they lied about the marketing of showing him in the game. It's actually a flashback. Yeah.
It's insulting. They had his character model over Jesse. They had Troy Baker, voice the same line, record the same line that Jesse says to Ellie in the game to make you think that this is going to be a Joel and Ellie adventure. It's such a blatant bait and switch. It's insane. They did that to get people excited because that was a money shot in one of the trailers. Like, oh hey, Joel's back. We finally get to see Joel again. It's terrible. But then number 2, here's where things get very questionable for me. says the quote-unquote agenda. Let me give you a helpful hint. If your negative review of The Last of Us 2, based on anywhere from 0 to 30 hours of playtime, includes the words agenda, feminism, SJW, woke, pandering, or political correctness, you have already lost this argument. I don't think that's the case. I strongly disagree.
Even if people are saying that, that's
Go
just
for it.
that's just a comment. It's just like, I think the creator was X. And you're like, okay, can we observe X? Well, we actually can, because he talks about his design philosophy on that game presentation.
Can we observe X? No, it's can we observe X, but don't say X.
He's saying if it includes the words, like he's like listing a bunch of words that you shouldn't use in your negative review.
We can easily say Neil Druckmann is one of these things, in some capacity.
Absolutely.
Yes.
He is such an obvious simp for Anita Sarkeesian. It's like it's borderline gaslighting to deny that reality. So then he says, the common refrain I'm already hearing is people saying, it's not about that, it's about the story. And yet there are hundreds of those user reviews that all cite one or all of those terms, saying that Naughty Dog is pushing some sort of agenda because these characters exist in the game. So the issue is, and this is what I'm hearing from like a lot of people over in r/The Last of Us 2 who have completed the game, that characters like Lev don't feel like they really serve much of a purpose to the story. They are just there. They are there to provide transgender representation and then do nothing else, nothing of consequence. And Voice, given your viewing of the playthroughs of this game, is that correct?
I didn't know Lev was transgender. Yes, I do struggle to understand them.
All right, so there we go. We've like and Neil Druckmann.
It's like Diet Atreus. From what I've seen, though, there is a beautiful moment where the kid gets absolutely decked.
Oh yeah, by Fat Geralt. That's looking forward to that. And the thing is,
I felt his soul, his on that.
Here's a good part. Here's a good part. I don't even care about the SJW parts. I care about how dirty they did all the characters, making decisions so unbelievably stupid that it makes you wonder if they're just new characters pretending to be the old ones. I really don't know what happened here. So there's people who are using these terms, but they're saying it's not about that, which is what Paul Tassi even said. And he didn't bother to read these reviews. If you go through every one of these reviews,
what?
There are 97 matches.
You cut out.
Oh, I'm sorry. There are 97 matches of the word story in multiple of reviews just on the first page. Everyone's concerned about the story. The story is literal garbage. The story and the characters are so horribly written. If you're looking for a great story, avoid this game. It breaks my heart to write this, but I really did not expect such a poor story. Cons, story.
Also, like, there's that little conference thing that they did. We covered this in the Robin Gaming video, where Druckmann made it clear that he hired Lev's actor because he was transgender.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And so if that's what he did, and we know that the character doesn't serve much purpose in the story, there you go.
Yeah, the only element that involves as a plot point was that he wants to go back to his mom to tell his mom it's okay that I'm trans. And her mom freaks out, and he ends up having to kill his mom. Which is crazy.
It's a very compelling story for a zombie apocalypse game. It's definitely something.
Just because they forced that. That to me, that is a forcing the issue for a plot point that doesn't have to happen, all to create conflict that involves death. And it's a parent figure.
Yeah. 12 hours in, that's literally all that happens. Ellie is gay. She has a girlfriend who is her traveling companion. In the first half of the game, the only commentary at all about any of this, other than the mere existence of these characters, is Ellie calling a guy a bigot who made a big deal out of her kissing Dina. The guy apologizes. He makes them sandwiches. The end. Okay. Ellie calls him a bigot after he makes her sandwiches. She doesn't forgive him. She doesn't, realize, oh, you're not actually that terrible of a person. That's not a
things while drunk.
This is not a counter argument at all, Paul. This is you're saying, oh, the only commentary here is this moment where they have the main character call a guy a bigot after he's being nice to her. Like, I mean, isn't that going to be a little like off-putting to the player? Isn't that going to seem a little out of place, Paul?
My player character is kind of a jerk. It's like, thanks, Ellie.
And Ellie was not a jerk in the first game. She was like a badass little kid. But LiteratureDevil, you and I would agree, she's not a jerk in the first game.
No, she was very likable. She was very down to earth. She was more likable than probably another character in her footsteps would be, her boots or whatever. She was practical. She was understanding. She's like, oh, what this. She looked at how people used to live and said, oh, that's pretty gaudy stuff. She likes how she prefers practicality. She prefers things that are useful. Because she grew up in a zombie apocalypse. She was very nice. She cared about Joel. All this good stuff. And that's why the relationship seemed to be very solid, because she actually cared about him.
When Henry and Sam have to like abandon Joel because like this armored truck that's like got a minigun on top of it is advancing, Ellie is with Henry and Sam. They're in like an elevated position, and they were about to like give Joel a boost up. And now that they're abandoning him, Ellie jumps down with Joel and is like, I'm not leaving you. Not to mention, as an AI companion, Ellie helps you out a lot in situations like during combat, where like she'll jump on top of a guy to stab him if like to save your life. She will throw bricks or bottles to stun someone so you can then gain the upper hand on them. She'll even like supply you with ammunition occasionally. Like, she is like a really great AI companion for the player as well as for the character of Joel.
Yeah, the way she was characterized in the first game, if that Ellie made it the second game, if someone said that called her a bigot or something, she would probably make a joke and say, yeah, whatever. She would probably go along with them, just defend it off with humor, because she was that strong and confident in the first game. She wouldn't just buckle under the fact that, oh, he's a bigot, I better demonize this guy. No, she would be joking around. She might just make a jab back at him. That's what Ellie was like in the first game.
Oh yeah, she was like constantly talking trash to Bill and to David. Like she was a very cocky, confident motherfucker, and you know what? I liked that about her, and I found her very endearing as a character in general. It just a really well realized character. And now this new game makes her an asshole. It's like they kill off Joel prematurely, and then they assassinate Ellie's character. And that's a real crying shame.
So we can say this is a bad take from Paul here. It's not the best take. He's just doing bare minimum research. This is a guy who pumps out about 2 or 3 articles a day. So this is his job. That's what he does. He just takes a surface level. When he does his own, like he does 1 or 2, maybe just 1 a day, he does a pretty good, decent analysis. It's not a detailed analysis, obviously. It's Forbes, but it's fine. This didn't really bother me too much. He's just seeing it as he could and summarizing his experience, looking at, I guess, a 1 or 2 pages of Metacritic, which is fine. But there's nothing wrong with criticizing Neil Druckmann. There's nothing wrong with criticizing the game and saying this is someone's pipe dream, someone's fanfic, and they had all this money to play with. The same way we talk about how, what if you give the wrong person to make a movie with all this money? What could end up happening? So it's the same concept, and he's just seeing as a bunch of fans not liking that, thinking there's an agenda. Maybe there is. To me, I don't really care what's in someone's mind. I can't really assess that. I can only guess what is shown to us on the screen or on the page. So when you have elements like transgenderism for the sake of it, which ends up being a plot point, which involves the death of a parent, another parent death, I guess that's meant to parallel what happens to Joel, or I don't know. It's kind of obvious. So yeah, he didn't get to that point yet. That's later on in the story, after you play as Abby, where Lev goes back and finds his mom. So he'll figure that out. I'm sure Paul Tassi will write another article again, because this is a hot topic. It's been on Twitter for 2 days now. Hasn't stopped. I'm sure you guys watching are still going to be paying attention. And I'll try and keep making posts as news items pop up. But the best I'm going to do is summarize the plot very quickly, because I could watch. There's loads of playthroughs now that the embargo has been lifted. We can all watch it.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's a doozy. It's kind of like, oh, let's watch this little girl or little young woman slaughter people, just kill them all. It's pretty nasty, but that's the game. That's people like. So, any closing remarks, guys? You're good to go. I'm pretty much done with this video. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate this recommendation there.
I'm good to go.
Southpaw, glad you're here.
Oh yeah, I'm glad to be here as well. I've started up a new YouTube channel. It's going to be for my South podcast, which is returning soon. I have to play through The Last of Us Part 2, which I'm actually going to start tomorrow. I'm actually going to get that set up, and I think I'll probably be starting it around 4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. So you guys can. I'm going to try to play through it as much as possible in one sitting. Considering that I get off work at 3 tomorrow, and then I have the entirety of Monday off. So I could potentially play it for a straight 24 hours and get through the whole thing in one go, hopefully. So we'll see.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for everyone joining, everyone watching. Thanks for tuning in. We might just have another stream in another hour or so. I'll have to find out soon. If not, it's going to be tomorrow, possibly. Not sure yet. But thanks, LiteratureDevil, for popping in. Thanks, Voice of the Radio. And, of course, Southpaw for recommending the video. Check out Southpaw's stream tomorrow. It's a link in his description to his channel. Hopefully it's the same channel that you'll be streaming from. If not, good luck. Leave it in the comment section. Southpaw, just search it. Okay, great.
Yeah, I'll have like a community post at least. So
Great. Okay, well, thanks, guys, for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.